but I am going to do my best to see things through. Um, oh wow, people gave me a bunch of subs. Okay, let me just take a quick second here and make sure all the settings are where they need to be. So stream is live. We've got our encoding options. Life is good. So while Stellaris loads, I'm going to confess that I am going to be a little preoccupied for the next little while. I'm going to do my best not to let it detract from the stream too much. But in addition to just the fact that I've struggled to get a proper night's sleep, and I was sort of on the track to getting that fixed on over this weekend, and then it all sort of fell apart last night. I was doing a little bit of my data work so obviously I have my day job, but then on my lunch break, I'm really close to a breakthrough. So I thought I'd get a little bit of extra. I thought I'd get a little extra work in, and I sort of appreciate to a certain extent that there is some blame to be pointed at me for on this. Hey, Cured Charlie, I'm about to complain about stuff, but things have been pretty stressful today because I was working on this data thing and there were a bunch of system updates. My data stuff I've been trying to do on a Linux partition, which I've always kind of found to be a little dodgy over time. It just always feels like dependencies stop working properly and just the number of errors accumulate. But I'm really trying to make an effort to get very comfortable with Linux proper. If I were given my preference, I'd love to just work in Mac OS, and then when I want to do my neckbeardy terminal stuff, I open a terminal, and when I want to just be productive, I use a wonderful OS. But let's face it, I already know that chat's going to have a bunch of opinions about the fact that I like Mac OS. So clearly, I want to be versed enough in the different in the different ways of working to not be a drag on any teams that might want me to come on. So for whatever reason, the VMs seem to lock up during one of these really big installs. And it just it sort of seemed to be like a hard crash or whatever. So I was like, okay, that's a real drag. So I go about resetting my computer and such. And then I try to load it up, and every time I want to load up one of my Fedora instances, it always freezes on load up. I'm like, oh, okay, something really bad has happened here. So I try and do sort of the repair or the recovery, and go to a community resource. It assures you that this is going to be the thing that it fixes, and all of a sudden, I'm only getting the minimal grub loader, and all of my normal startups are gone, and there's nothing else to do there, and I'm like, oh god, okay, so now I'm really deep into it, right? And so far as I can tell, my files are somewhere on they're on the partition. I can see that it's still taking up space. But it's one of these logical file volumes or something like that, LVM or something like that. And anytime I try to actually mount this thing, I either get this is not eligible to be mounted, or we don't know what this file type is. And there's a bunch of file recovery programs that promise you they'll fix things if only you give them money, and I'm like, I need to see evidence that you can actually even just tell me what the structure of the directories is like, because there's one folder for all of this. So of course then there's the inevitable question people ask, why didn't you do a backup? I'm like, well, because at least two of those data sets I'm working with are sensitive data sets. They are ones that people have trusted me with and have a certain expectation in terms of them, that information being protected. So I'm not going to just put some kind of a backup on like Google Drive or something like that. I'm going to make sure that that is in something, relatively hard to access. And I don't exactly want to be, like I don't have a GitHub because there's all like the variable names and like I'm putting quantiles in. So, that's showing individual observations on the side of it. Doesn't mean I'm not using source control. Just none of that stuff is in a publicly accessible format. So, again, like, should I have done this community, upvoted Stack Exchange answer or Reddit answer? I'm like, well, that's kind of how by the way, the reason I'm talking about this is that I've got a job running in the background. So hopefully that's now working. Oh, nuts. It wants me to reboot. Okay. That's fine. I'm not going to think about this anymore. But yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, there's plenty of people who use Fedora very effectively. I'm not entirely comfortable with the fact that, a sudden lockup and, and hard restart was sufficient to sort of take out my computer. Like, I'm not really sure what I could have done differently there. But yeah, honestly, like as long as I can just get access to my data directory and like I can just put that on a thumb drive or whatever, I'll be happy. But that's the challenge, is that right now everything that I've been trying, it seems to be that there's also some weird resizing that's happened with that partition. So, I'm obviously very, very nervous because like obviously once you start talking about partitions, right, that's a fantastic way to just delete everything. So one more wrong move, and that's something that I'm potentially going to, to have like a truly irretrievable data loss from. So needless to say, I went from like, oh, hey, I've got a little time, on my lunch hour, I'm gonna get some data done, to like every minute that has not been work related has just been fighting, Linux stuff. And I'm just tired of it. Like, I know this isn't a cool thing to say, but I don't see the benefit in even trying anymore. Like I never have even using Windows, which I'm not a huge fan of. I have just far fewer problems trying to get basic stuff done. I have had data loss on a Windows computer before. I've been using Macs pretty much my entire life. I've never had a situation where, where I've run into a situation even remotely close to this. So, I think I think I'm going to have to reconsider this whole idea of trying to do stuff in a virtual machine. Like I'll spin up a virtual machine. I'll have like a Raspberry Pi. I'll play in Linux land for that, but I don't think I'm going to use it for serious work anymore. Like I just don't see how. Like fortunately, nobody's paying me for this stuff. Like I was getting ready to deliver 2 major projects, and now it's a question as to whether or not I need to build them from scratch again. But I've been ranting for about 8 minutes. So one of the things I wanted to do was just I was doing another copy of this of sort of the VDI file from VirtualBox. It's on the same drive that Stellaris is on, so I didn't want to throw too much at it. Let's talk about, and incident, if you happen to be watching this stuff and you know Linux a bit, particularly Fedora, and maybe have experienced something like this, or at the very least have an idea about how I can recover stuff off of a VDI, please let me know. I'm probably going to freeze at least one copy of the .vdi file in Amber in hopes that I can somehow recover it. But I'm not feeling very optimistic. All right. So we can access the Shroud. The question is whether or not that's a good use of my energy credits. I almost feel like using these energy credits to get new planets is the better call. We've got some political muscle that we can flex. So we are the second largest power in the galaxy now, politically. We've got enough of a fleet that we could start throwing our weight around with either the Zaxoid Stellar Confederation. Well, actually, it's really just the Zaxoids. The Vitresis Hive is still somewhat strong. Although, one thing to keep in mind is that if the Vitresis Hive, for whatever reason, winds up going to war with another faction, one thing that I might want to try and do is take that opportunity to grab a bunch of claims on their territory and then sort of move in and take what I can. That definitely paints a big target on me. But even if we were able to snag, these things, that would all of a sudden mean that my defense is at a... Well, actually, I guess that turns my defense into both a gateway and a wormhole, but it does give me access to a gateway. Anyways, definitely I want to be careful on my timing in terms of taking them on here. What else? So there's the Shroud. I need to make sure I've got 10,000 credits set away. Maybe it's a good idea to just try and build that savings of 10,000 credits before I start going crazy. Okay, let's audit my worlds. I remember last week I said that I was going to do a bunch of stuff, but again, I'm not... It's been really hard to sleep, and I'm definitely sort of feeling like the whole kind of memory loss and just not having a very good idea on what to do in some of these games. So I know it's only been a week, but it's been a little tough. So, looks like for all of these we're at either 3 or 5. Okay, Borobo is at 2. I guess I was turning them into a forge planet, so I can afford to throw another one there. Knights is becoming a bureaucratic world, but it's got more than enough jobs. And we've got an industrial world again with more than enough jobs. So it seems to me like we're okay so far as the job situation is concerned. Now here was one thing I wanted to check out. So we've got the Imutherians. Okay, full citizenship, stratified economy. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I think there's a few factors going on in terms of my sleep patterns and such, but I definitely feel like, as a whole, I've kind of gotten into a really bad sleep pattern where when I try to go to sleep, I'm not used to it, and I have been sort of napping to try and just keep fresh. But holy crap, these things grow. Good lord. Yeah, I've debated on just doing an all-nighter and trying to reset that way, but I know that's really terrible. That just means that I'm screwed for the rest of the week. But what I've noticed is that I will try to properly go to bed, and what will happen is, because I'm a bit restless, I will instead what I do is I sort of head back and I do something to keep myself occupied. And of course, that thing that I do to keep myself occupied is very engaging, and so all of a sudden I'm spending so much more time than I should. So I mean, again, they're all terrible excuses. I wish I was not the way that I am here, but it's what I'm currently dealing with. Okay, so we've got 62 influence, and I think all of the upgrades within my borders are I think we're pretty much done as far as getting all of that. So I need to find something for my construction ships to do in the meantime. I suppose what I can do is I can start moving them into places they will be useful. So I've got a construction ship here, and then I guess I only have the 2. Okay, there's a battleship there. I think another one's already on its way. I'll probably have a little bit of manipulation to do, but let's unpause and just see where everything's going. And we have the form. Oh, right, we've got the Form of the Galactic Council ready to go. That's why I titled it the way that I did.
Construction complete.
Okay. Seems to me like I was putting a bunch of effort into building up my star bases. Breeding grounds. The Amor Alveo system gives off a strongly hostile impression on its first sight. None of its planets are remotely habitable, either scorched by the searing heat of the system's 3 suns or stripped of life by powerful solar storms. However, there is one life form that appears to thrive in this environment, the space amoeba. Giving up their otherwise fairly solitary lifestyle, they've congregated in great numbers, flitting in and out between the blisteringly hot inner system and the large gas giant further out in what appears to be an elaborate breeding ritual. It's unclear what could possibly have caused the amoebas to favor this inhospitable system. Regardless, they seem intent on protecting it, and have already turned their flagella towards the ISS Devarik in an overtly threatening manner. I don't look like I'm being threatened. Hopefully that doesn't
Special
change.
project complete.
Zulkor swarms secured. The Zulkor are swarming insect analogs, unusual both for their large size and the fact that they are lithivores, feeding off rocks and minerals in the ground. One of the shuttles belonging to the ISS Darilla sustained serious damage when it inadvertently passed through a large swarm and several Zulkors began to feed on its hull. The construction of special containment facilities required to hold these creatures has already begun in the Museum of Exobiology on Qantos. So this is all good for my social research. Let's just take a quick look here at my different stations. So at some point I'm going to have to start building some anchorages so I can build a bigger fleet. But I can sort of afford to wait a little while on that. Not too long, but it's like this is a great example of, you know, me making a clear decision on the... Misa. What did I want you for? Okay, I wanted you for defense, clearly. Ernest. Okay, Ernest seems to have been trade-oriented. So at the very least a hangar bay. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the oh, and a deep space black site for the Unity. So I'm curious why I chose to do that at Araness as opposed to Lemsa, which has a clearly much better trade value. Okay, so what's going on with Nova? Nova's patrolling the Kanala Starfleet. Is the Cine Starfleet might be combining with the Vamala? I need to double check that. Psionic Avatar is doing its thing. And the Cardana Starfleet is definitely adding.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Alright, these new shield generators represent the next generation of energy screens, replacing the older deflector technology. Older deflector technology, they offer a significantly better protection. Let's think about our next step here. So I do kind of want to go for the cheap tech here just because there's so much that I haven't taken advantage of yet. So for instance, disruptors. So the smallest, of course, would be the chemical plant, but in this case I do want some offensive capabilities. So we will go for the disruptor tech first. Energy Nexus would also be nice for the money aspect. And I mean, I do have some exotic gases, so I'd probably do that upgrade. But in this case, let's go disruptor. Okay, recovered cache. While clearing wreckage on Qantos, we discovered an ancient cache of technology which dates back to our former empire. Only a minimal amount of research should be required to reintegrate this knowledge into our technology base. Advanced reactor boosters. That will also be a good one. Okay. I am a little surprised that... Oh. How much you want to bet that they're going to be upgrading to an old model and I gotta upgrade them again? Well, that's life. I haven't really talked about what the plans for the next little while are. So again, there's still the task of trying to boost my administrative cap while still expanding at a good clip. Okay, what's the deal here? Good, good. And Lemsa is ready to go, so we are going to... Wait. Oh, yes, I get it. We already terraform... we already colonized it, so we're terraforming something we want. Okay, they want to repeal buzzword standardization. Now, if I recall, that gives me a bonus towards economy, which I want, so we're going to oppose that. Alright, so there's no colonization to do after all. Obviously, I do want to expand out to these other worlds as quickly as I can, but not at the expense of bankrupting the Empire. So we're just going to sit on our energy credits for a little while. And we've got enough to take Lisek. Now, the tricky part about Lisek is the question as to whether or not I want to put a defensive position there. Obviously, if the Fallen Empire wakes up, there's nothing I can really do about them invading. Actually, yeah, I guess Misa makes more sense as sort of a last stand as opposed to something dedicated at Lisak, so... Okay, Naval Logistics Office makes sense here because of the anchorages.
Our ships have been improved. The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Same idea here. Okay, a few things happening. It says ships have been improved. Okay, so the Vernala Starfleet needs an upgrade again. Gradual adaptation to the realities of deep space combat allows us to effectively coordinate larger maneuvers. So I believe this is the command limit as in the number of ships that I can have in a single stack as opposed to the overall naval capacity. So ideally here I want to get this number up to 180, but again, we'll see where the game takes us. We've got a lot of interesting stuff here. So Zro distillation, an extremely rare aerosol of exotic particles that has been deposited on a number of worlds through meteor impacts, but its true origin is a mystery. Not anymore. If ingested by psionically gifted individuals, Zro acts as a very potent and addictive drug that enhances psi abilities. So this is tempting, particularly because I have some within my borders and I would like to I'd like to extract it. But the question is the option of taking Zro now worth giving up some other options in the list here? Cured Charlie says, got to be up early for work tomorrow, but it's been fun while you've been here. Have a good dream. Well, thank you very much, Cured Charlie. I know we're just in the early stages, but I always appreciate you hanging out. So I hope you have a good day at work tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you again. No promises that there will be a stream on Wednesday. It's actually likely that I'll be at the local game dev meetup, but you know, just a heads up on that maybe. If I'm not live, I will probably be hosting the meetup, and yeah, we'll see. But I'll try and let you know as I'll try and announce stuff on Twitter or whatever. If I'm streaming, I will say it on Twitter for sure. Okay, Tomb World adaptation. Again, like, it's nice to get a plus 20 bonus towards Tomb World habitability, but the fact of the matter is that's still not a very habitable world for me. So this isn't really worth it. Interstellar campaigns would assume that I want to go to war, and I suppose at some point I'm going to need to do this. The question is this the most important thing I could get now, particularly when we have arcane deciphering, which is of course very on brand for the Black Codex. It's also within the statecraft specialization for the scientist Bar Jadumak. So starbase capacity is another thing that I could benefit by, because obviously being able to expand out to Lemsa and such would be nice. It'll help me with the energy credits. But honestly, for me right now, I think the question of arcane deciphering and interstellar campaigns, that's kind of the relevant one to me. And in this case here, I actually think I'm going to go for the deciphering.
Anomaly found.
This barren and lifeless world is showing signs of once having supported a biosphere. The last one's going to be a bit of a question. Our detailed survey of Wetji 7 has revealed that it may have once supported life in the distant past. There are significant deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps and beneath the planet's surface. The existence of valley networks suggests that water may once have flowed freely. Terraforming this planet would theoretically be possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic time frame. So of course, we can do things to try and gain access to that technology, but we may have other priorities at the moment. How are we doing for influence? So we probably have enough for a second round of expansion. Let's get you to take Banus. So I don't think it's exactly enough for 2, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, does it not say?
System survey complete.
It's already performing this order, and we're lacking 21. Must have queued it already. Okay, so let's combine these 2 for starters. So what are we looking at? I guess I can go to the fleet manager. I don't really like using this because it tends to just create more problems than anything.
System survey complete.
So for instance, I don't see my battleship here. There we go. So it should at least be 2, I suppose. So I put 3 in. Yeah, this is always a hard one to do them. Sorry, I gotta do this the other way around. So battleship is worth 8. So if I put 3 battleships in, that's basically worth 24. Cruisers are worth 4. So those should be worth 6. Yeah. Destroyers are worth 2. So that should be 12. Okay, yeah. So the problem is that we're at the limits of the command. But I can work with that. I don't know. I've got a fair number of screening ships already. We'll see what the Decini Starfleet has to say about this.
Our ships have been improved.
Okay, they wanted to build up because I already used up the influence. So I was a little premature on that. I gotta wait 3 months. This might annoy the Fallen Empire as well, but I know they're not xenophobes, so. Okay, let's do that fleet manager again. Okay, so first things first, I want to boot out the weird ones. Oh yeah, I actually made a mistake doing this. Okay, let's go back to the manager. 99 ain't right. Okay, 3, 6, so ideally 12. Okay, well 11. Fair enough. So that means I owe them 2 battleships, cruiser, destroyer. I guess I'll build the cruiser later. And again, it's worth remembering the Fortana Starfleet it's a patrol. So I'll take the time to get them repaired and upgraded, but I pretty much want to just send them out and protect my trade routes for the next little bit. I'll wait before giving them the job. I think I can shift queue it, but it's probably not worth the risk. Okay, so we seem to be doing all right for consumer goods. At this point, the question is, how do I get enough bodies in my in my bureaucracy? I can't remember if I've got somebody assigned to the Chakby job. I'll take a look into that later. For now, let's see if I can get any slaves. No. Okay. Idle construction ship.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Arcane deciphering. Various artifacts and technologies functioning by arcane means that cannot be understood or replicated, at least not by conventional science as it is known to us. So this will give us another technological edge, which we're still trying to get a little bit of a push for. Interstellar economics. So this is one that's sort of interesting on its own, but it's one that I'm not really taking advantage of. And I actually see myself taking advantage of this less with the changes that have come into Nemesis. So one of the challenges that I would run into later on in Stellaris would be I'd have these planets with large populations that I just need to dump pops into. And so the commerce megaplexes would be really good because you could just generate these massive buildings to soak up a lot of employment, and they would give you sort of a lot of energy credits, and you'd use those energy credits to sort of buy other things. So the drawback, or not the drawback, but the difference here is that this problem gets attacked in two ways in the Nemesis update. One of them is that you now have sort of a curve that your growth works on. So if you're on a very small planet, so this was already kind of in the game already, in the sense that there would be a colonization bonus when you made a new colony. So basically, if you think of it, right, there's a bunch of enterprising types who want to sort of make a name for themselves. You'll have certain economic opportunities available to you if you are the first, if you're the first to a new market or a new region. Than if you're sort of building on existing infrastructure, although you can also be very successful in business there. But clearly, lots of immigration and lots of, a lot of people have sort of been chasing opportunities in new places, and that's already present inside of the game. So basically, your existing areas are relatively less attractive and your new areas are more attractive, meaning that basically they're going to grow more. In this case, it's also made more explicit in the sense that as you grow, it's almost kind of a Malthusian view of the world, that as your population keeps growing, that growth rate gets slower. Thomas Malthus was an economist. He's actually quite... people like to make fun of his conclusions, but the funny thing is that it was actually very solid. It was very solid reasoning. It was something that actually applied very well just up to the time that he was writing. And the challenge was that he was writing around the Industrial Revolution. I guess this is the point where I should mention Victoria 3, but the more important thing for me to mention, actually, which I didn't off the top, and I apologize, is that I am actually playing this game having been given a key from Paradox. So if you are taking the playing of this game as an endorsement, I'm definitely fond of it. I've been streaming it since it first came out, and largely due to those keys that Paradox has given me. But of course I have other options too. So sorry for getting that disclosure in a little bit later. Obviously it's something that I want to be as transparent as I can, and it seemed as good of a time as any because I was going to mention Victoria anyway. But because Malthus was writing essentially at the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, the dynamic he described changed, and basically Malthus is kind of the reason why people call economics the dismal science. He sort of had this idea that the idea of sort of long-run growth, I suppose, or like an overall welfare improvement wasn't really something that we could rely on, because essentially as people got access to more basically more food, that would also lead to an increase in population, which would consume the resources, and so there wasn't really any room for an overall improvement in welfare. As you would see more and more being produced, you would also see that amount being consumed. And there's sort of the suggestion of some kind of population control. I think he maybe suggested moral virtue, so keeping from having too many kids. I'll let you fill in the blank on that, but I don't remember his exact term for it, but I think I have a copy of the essay somewhere. But again, it's worth remembering that this is actually a fairly good description of the way the world worked. The major difference, of course, is that the Industrial Revolution brought in a tremendous technological change, and it is in fact through technological improvement, specifically finding better ways of doing things. Again, purchasing computers now is not really technological improvement, it's capital acquisition. And again, there's only so much that you can get by buying more capital. There's an argument to be made that adopting, obviously AI, machine learning is a big topic right now. So you might make an argument that adapting your business to taking on these technologies, to do a higher degree of automation through these technologies, that would be technological improvement on its first adoption. But again, if you just kind of come up with if you're just sort of buying a new algorithm, or you're, renting out some more, more Azure instances or whatever, that's obviously very different. But anyways, so the Malthusian view of the world is kind of here in Stellaris, whereas your population keeps going up, they're sort of consuming more of the resources, and as a result, they're growing slower. And so there's less of a need for these commerce megaplexes, not only because there's the lower population, but also because the way the planets work now is you will build either sort of quote-unquote raw goods. It's hard to call an industrial district a raw good now. But basically you have your basic resources as well as the refining resources are now individual districts that you can build on planets. It's not population that will gain you these specialist buildings, but rather how much you invest in city districts. So you can have planets that are dedicated purely to the extraction of raw resources, and then other specialist planets which will be focusing on either this industrial train or just simply go into these specialist buildings. And that's going to be the other way that slack is picked up. So as a whole, I actually see myself building fewer commerce megaplex. Well, commerce megaplexes is the higher level version. But basically, I see myself building few of these absorbing buildings than I did before. And I think that's good because it just makes the game more interesting. I haven't answered the question about what I want to do, though. Let's do the Tomb World adaptation. Not necessarily because I really want it, but everything else is so expensive. And so, basically it kind of comes down to, all right, I could do the Hyperlane Registrar, which might be good for my, my star bases. I do have some empty slots available there. But these are going to cost the same, 14 months each. So there is the specialization in terms of statecraft, but we've already got 1,000 towards Tomb World adaptation. So essentially, this is going to get me the fastest draw from the deck again. And then Command Matrix, again, that would be wonderful because it's an additional ship fire rate, but I also think we practically don't have much use for it right now. Okay, so we got 2 star bases under construction. Lisek is really nice because it has those alloys. And then really I'm going here not necessarily because I really want these worlds, but because they will close off the last couple of spots that I haven't been able to. The
spirits have granted us new wisdom
to get in my borders. All right, I messed up. Oh, nope, they're patrolling where I want them to. Okay, we've got disruptors. Disruptors fire high-energy bolts that weaken and destroy the molecular bonds that hold the target's constituent atoms together. They are capable of passing through shields and armor to wreak havoc directly on enemy hull and crew. So there's no large version of this, but they get bonuses towards shield penetration and armor penetration, and I think the trade-off is that their average damage is lower. We can take a look into that to verify. Okay, so I can either get myself additional research alternatives, or I can get the Cloud Lightning finally. I think self-evolving logic is its due time. Alright, let's just take a quick second here and look at our ship designer just so I can make sure that I'm right on the disruptors. So, our advanced railgun, which so this isn't the most fair comparison. This is a fairly high-tech item. So the okay, maybe let's compare the disruptor to the plasma thrower. So 155 compared to the 290, and of course the 290 gets a reduction to shield damage, but some pretty devastating bonuses towards armor and hull. And then of course we've got 337 versus 729, and this thing can grow all the way up to 1749. But by comparison, I don't see a whole lot of sense in in putting disruptors over UV lasers, because even at the actually, you know what, with a 50% it might actually be worth it. Nope, even then it's 1.8 per second with the shield damage. And there's shield penetration, not shield damage, so I guess that's direct damage. Okay, I guess there's actually some situations where the disruptor would still be useful, but obviously I got that tech so that I can later upgrade it to something more stunning. There was one thing I forgot to check out on the broadcast. I apologize. I'm just going to pause for a second here. I just want to make sure that I'm tagged correctly. Yes, we are listed as playing Stellaris. Although it feels like there's a lot of people playing this game and only like 51. Is Stellaris just not popular right now, or is something going on with Twitch? Well, it's 522,000 on just chatting, so... Interesting. I always kind of thought that Stellaris was the gateway drug for getting into Paradox games. The more you know. Okay, so no, not inexplicably. I'm again. So this is a challenge I actually ran into before. I have been spending so much time working on building up my industrial districts that I've been neglecting my existing worker slots. So while it is true that I have 5 available jobs, they are all specialist jobs, not regular workers. Now, I could really use some extra energy credits. The question is that do I really want to be doing like a little bit of energy credits and a little bit of, a little bit of this, a little bit of that? What we probably want to take a look at first are the bonuses. So in this case, building cost, district costs, it's colonial remains, no major benefits there. If I take a look at features, it's really just a question in terms of getting more mining districts or agriculture districts. Nice, but not incredibly important. And so the question is going to be, am I going to want to go down a path where I'm getting, a handful of these raw resources, or as a Forge world, is Quantos going to be something where I'm really trying to like hammer out the, the extra value? And in this case here, I think probably I want to hammer out the extra value, even if that means, building some additional, let's say what am I trying to say here? Like the Forge, the alloy foundries. So being able to get these extra city districts and these additional unlocks would be kind of nice. There's some other options that I have as well. So if I was feeling that I needed some extra refineries, I could build them here. I could do things like hollow theaters. I could do, if I really wanted, I could do a commerce megaplex. It all gives me an option. But in this case here, it's just a question in terms of, okay, I have to have sort of low skill labor on this planet. That or I need to move it to another planet. But the fact of the matter is I just don't have that many standard worker jobs. So in this case, we'll just build another city district because I can see that aligning rather well with what I want to do with the Forge world overall. And that's going to be something that we probably get hit by on a few other worlds, but I don't want to do too much in terms of building the precautions in.
Construction complete.
Just because I think there's better uses for my resources.
Complete.
Okay, Gribbon.
System survey complete.
That's my naval cap going up. I'm happy with the exploration. All right, we're all good. Ugrasil. I don't exactly need to be clearing things out. I also think we've already got the remaining traps taken care of. Yeah, it doesn't say I can do mote harvesting trap. So I can get more mining districts or generator districts. I suppose I've been focusing on mining districts, so let's clear out that dense jungle. I'm not going to use it anytime soon, but it's nice to have. And let's expand out on Lisak. So again, I'm assuming the archivists are kind of annoyed at me about this. What are we looking at here? So we currently have neutral relations changed by -24. And what was that change due to, though?
Construction complete.
Doesn't really seem to say. Okay, what's the story with this one? This was probably just to protect trade, wasn't it? Yeah, 61's a definitely good number to protect. I might want to extend the range because we're going to get this level 7 trade coming in before too long. Yeah, the real question here is what else do I want to do with this starbase? I have one more... Oh, you know what? I'm not really collecting anything.
Have granted us new wisdom.
Interesting. I'm going to leave that alone then. All right, habitats allows the construction of largely self-sustaining orbital habitats. This will be helpful. So, looks like we got some cheap tech available. I could do improved strike craft. I could do metallurgist output plus 10%. Now, the trick here is that I have been spending a lot in terms of alloys, but it's mostly because I know I generate a lot of them. I'm not entirely convinced that I need this much. So the question is there an alternative? So, you know, I guess we're not exactly halfway, so this is more like 70 months. But still, well, actually, if I take a look at like the engineering research in that, I don't know, we're getting close to a point where I might want to consider researching living metal. In this case, though, I can see some slightly better, I can definitely see some improvements in terms of taking things like improved strike craft first, or the ceramo. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do ceramo metal alloys just because they're so inexpensive. If they cost more, I wouldn't have done it, but that gives me again, the appeal to the low tech is not necessarily that I want to just catch up, although that is a good reason. One of the big things about getting low tech stuff is that it's the closest you can get to a free like secondary draw. Like it's nice to be able to take another crack at the what am I trying to say? Like
special project complete.
It's nice to be able to try and do more as far as the getting the tech that you want in. Okay, special project completed. A single cargo tug hauling a gas canister has arrived at Baldorak under escort from the From Beyond. The contents of the canister have been released into the gas giant's atmosphere, safely returning the Dathnak colonist to her home. Good riddance. Is that science ship short on things to do? Looks like they are not, so... Oh. The infinity equation. As the ISS Deverik approaches the Gargantua black hole... I didn't even know that we'd found this. They find that they are not alone. At the edge of the event horizon, it soars, reflecting light from the stars being drawn into the dark, gaping hole. A gigantic construction in the shape of a perfect sphere. We cannot pick up any signals from it, nor does anything we send make it respond. It simply sits at the edge of the abyss, waiting.
Situation log updated.
So I believe we need to actually colonize that area before, or not colonize, but we have to claim that area before we can do the event. This is a fun one, and I think this model looks great. You know, obviously it's a perfect sphere, so you kind of want to be... I guess you kind of need to be careful. Actually, this is one thing that interests me. It says it's perched on the edge of the event horizon, complete. So I suppose we've developed a science ship that defies the laws of physics and in fact crosses the event horizon. I don't know if this thing has any maintenance costs, but I'm gonna run it into the orbit. It's slow moving. but it's a nice to have for sure. So we've taken a hit in terms of our energy. I'm trying to think of the best way. Good God, what's happening in the Nemesis system? At this point, it's irresponsible of me not to claim the credits. There is a small argument that if I placed the starbase here, I'd be able to protect these routes as well as claim from sort of Lemsa, Kajaldum. The drawback would be that I have to, like, I'm not able to get the black sites, which to me is a pretty big concession. Let's think about what I need for protection. So Mysa's already on the protection job. Or will be. Technically already gotten this one, so I don't know if there's as much of a need for protection there.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Okay, it does look like I'm getting some free...
System survey
It does look
complete.
I'm getting some free star bases now, so I think because this is so attractive, I am going to upgrade this one. Alright, how are you? Looks like we can still upgrade you. And I'm assuming the numbers are all messed up again. Alright, I did say I owed them a cruiser, didn't I? This is kind of a good example why I don't really like doing the fleet manager. What I'll do here is I'll just knock down the cruiser right here. Yeah. But that's because the number is going to be augmented. Like basically, the cap moves up as you add more ships into the fleet. And again, like it's a personal preference thing. I don't know if there's any obviously better way of doing the fleet manager, but it is one of these things where I know that Paradox wanted to give me something that would help me out, and in practice I just tend to avoid the manager. I just don't think it quite delivers. Okay, Tomb World adaptation. Through comprehensive study of irradiated environments, we will allow our settlers to colonize worlds that have been devastated by nuclear warfare. So that was just kind of a nice to have more than anything. Back to the decision about Zro distillation. Manifest Destiny is also attractive due to its starbase capacity, but it is the highest cost. So I think the time has come, as nice as it would be to take Galactic Administration, and as nice as it would be to take Zro's distillation, I should consider interstellar campaigns, because at some point I am going to need the influence for the claims, and I might as well get it now rather than wishing I had gotten it earlier. Also, again, I think we're at the point here where as long as the Vitresis wants to do the thing that I want to do, we're able to take whatever we want, or do whatever we want rather. Probably take whatever we want too, but that's a little more overt in terms of our abuse of the system. Okay, I could stand to unpause the game, couldn't I? Okay, they're still building defense platforms. Still building defense platforms. Still... Oh, no, they're not building defense platforms. These can get an upgrade.
Our ships have been improved.
Okay, what's the story here? Intham...
Our ships have been improved.
Oh, Intham isn't a defense.
Our ships have been improved.
But Mysa is.
Special project complete.
Orinthi secured. The small rodent-like creature is known as the Orinthi are native to Intham Prime, where their habitat extends across most of the planet's diverse climatic regions. They breed at an extremely rapid rate and seem to have a particular fondness for chewing on electric cables. Procuring specimens was not a problem. In fact, after the initial creatures were collected, more of them made their way onto from beyond by hitching rides on the science ship's orbital shuttles. Exactly why the Museum of Exobiology requested Orinthi specimens remains a mystery. We'll say the social research is all of the work that the team did to try and understand the request. This has probably been sitting here for a while. Let's get them... Okay, fine. But I'm going to tell them to do it manually. Actually, you know what? If we're going to do cleanup jobs, let's do this right. Of course, all of these are potential options for me for future expansion. That's probably a path somewhere else.
Our ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved.
You know what I didn't take care of, though? Let's go back to the society management.
Have been improved.
So we've got a few things that we can get away with here. I can't do the psionic archive yet.
Our ships have been improved.
But we could do a religious revelation. Nope, we've already done that actually.
Our ships have been improved.
Peaceful artifact, military applications. I think we can only do one of these.
Our ships have been improved.
Okay, let's reverse engineer the arcane technology. Study of the artifacts has advanced some of our research.
Our ships have been improved.
It's fine. Military applications. What aspect shall we focus on? Combat drugs, harmonic isolation, weak point analysis. Yeah, we'll do that. I think next time we'll do peaceful applications, though. Nope. And we've got our research alternatives. Introspective prioritization. So, big, long list of physics research to do now. Okay, so basically, we get the advanced reactor boosters almost immediately. Now, advanced combat roles is pretty attractive. I think I'm going to go for that one first. It breaks my heart to do that, but I know that that other upgrade's going to be available to me forever, basically. Okay, now this is an interesting problem. This is clearly a forge world, but it is also reasonably rich in resources, particularly mineral resources, but it is also decent for farming. The thing is that I'm not entirely convinced I'm going to need a lot more minerals, although I say that now. You know, do I already have... Let me just take a second here and see if I've got a second farming world planned. Okay, so Gribben is the current agri world. Epsilon Indi. I think that was a potential candidate. Okay, so Taya has already got that role. Fair enough. So let's think about Borbo again. Well, I don't think it hurts to have at least enough mineral consumption to be able to sustain the forges. So let's start with that. Looks like the galaxy's getting behind the idea of a council. My next proposal, of course, will be to reduce the council to 2, but... we'll wait for that. Yeah, I really do need to find... one of the things I should be looking at, actually, let's figure this out now. So, Evexus... Cagilome. Okay, this is the world that I probably want to colonize next. Okay, let's see. There's some things that happened. I'm going to take a minute here. I just want to find if there's a world that would be really good for generators. The other thing is that my idea of what a good generator world is might be distorted, because I noticed that the number of industrial slots is quite a bit larger than any of the other categories. So it might be that, like, some of these are actually quite passable as energy worlds, and I'm just not properly considering them. But I think the time has come for me to actually specialize in energy. So Cagelom 3A, while maybe not so impressive in terms of its planet size, does become very useful in the sense that it has hazardous weather bonus generator districts. And you know, a big stack here. So what's it going to cost me to terraform this bad boy? Of course it's going to cost me everything. Still worth it. Wentwork, I think, is in the same boat. But they're a tech world, so again, we've got... Oh, that's right. This was going to be a tricky one. So base workers... Yeah, there's really not a whole lot in terms of options, to be honest. There's clerks. But all the other cool jobs are specialist, I think. So if I were to do like a holo theater... Oh, that's interesting. It doesn't say. So I'm going to just take a quick second here and see if it will tell me what kind of roles these are. Stratum specialist. Doesn't really help, does it? Yeah, entertainer, specialist jobs. Okay, so this is actually not a bad thing for me to look at. And by the way, I do really want to stress this. So obviously I'm a little bit further into the game, into the playthrough here. This is really one way that you can learn about Stellaris, and it's a way I recommend learning about it, because the thing is, I've been trying to get into some other 4X games, and I won't necessarily say the publisher in this case, because it might seem like I'm actually talking down the work. I actually think these games are really interesting. But I think it is also a very different kind of... So I think that there are some differences in terms of what some designers expect from their players versus what we are in the current age. So I am constantly reminded at just how good Civilization is every time I play a 4X game that is not Civilization. I think Civilization, despite its reputation for being a bit difficult to get into relative to, say, Destiny 2, I think does a very good job of communicating its ideas to the player, and I think that someone with enough patience would be able to master Civilization. Now, whether or not they think it's worthwhile is another question, right? Because there's a whole question as to whether or not people want to bother with turn-based games. But... the more I play other games in that genre, the more I realize that Civilization actually takes a lot of care to present its information in an understandable way to its players, and they don't necessarily sacrifice on the depth of the game, but they're still able to sort of communicate things in a way that gives the player a chance. And what I've noticed with some of these other games that I've been playing, these are games with manuals, right? I mean, when's the last time you've ever read a manual for a game? Obviously, these are digital manuals, they're PDFs, but they run into hundreds of pages, and they expect you to read them. The in-game tutorial is either non-existent or it depends on the written words, inside of the manual. And there's nothing wrong with that, because of course, we've done this with board games forever. But it's obviously just a different question in terms of what you as a player expect relative to what the developer wants to try and make. I'm sure these developers would say that they want a deeper experience, and that ultimately somebody who can't be bothered to read the instructions is probably not going to enjoy the game for other reasons. And I think that's sort of fair, although I do find that because I have these other equally attractive options, I tend to play the games with long manuals a little bit less, because I want to get into the game. So why am I talking about this instead of Stellaris? Stellaris, I kind of feel like it's on the precipice of that. I don't think it would I don't think there's a written manual for it, and if there were a written manual, it would almost certainly be irrelevant within 2 or 3 patches. And I think that they took the time to do a voiced tutorial, and I actually think the tutorial does a pretty good job of getting you started. But it is true for these grand strategy games that part of the appeal, I mean, the whole reason why this genre exists is to basically be something that, it's the same thing that developers want you to feel in terms of like Dota or League of Legends, that it's a thing that you will keep coming back to, and that it will become sort of your long-term hobby, and it will be something that you want to keep spending money on to play like the latest and best version. And so with that in mind, games like Europa Universalis, games like Stellaris will have quite a bit of depth, and as you get more and more experienced with the game, you're still going to be discovering new things, let alone just the fact that there are new patches changing things all the time. And so what I would encourage you to do, like if you're already committed to the idea that you like Stellaris, the best thing to do is when you play a game, again, this isn't one where you need to sit down and read the wiki or you need to like read everything to understand what's going on. I encourage you to start playing. And when you run into something that is unfamiliar, obviously you can ask friends, you can ask, on forums, you can ask on Steam, you can ask wherever, you interact with an audience. But what I find particularly rewarding in these games is to actually take the time and read the wiki. I think it's seeded by Paradox, and then I think the community updates it as as the patches come through. So in this case here, right, I don't exactly have immediate recall of what what worker slots are. I couldn't remember if entertainer was a specialist job or not. I was pretty sure entertainer was a specialist job, but I would make very different decisions depending on what what type of job the building produces. So in this case, it says here, for worker jobs, new pops will always take the job from a current pop if the new pop's weight is higher. Not really relevant to what I'm talking about here, but here are the jobs that will fill the gap that I have available. These are basically, if I can build a building that does one of these things, this will solve this problem. And I want to try and find a job that will align best with some of the work that I'm already doing. So first of all, there's a clerk, more trade value, more amenities. We've got a crystal miner. Now this is really good if I've got rare crystals, and then minerals would be okay with mining guilds. But obviously, this is assuming there's a special resource here. So clearly, I'm going to put something towards specialized resources, but I think we've already used them up right here. Farmer, so on this world. Gas extractor, again, presumably I would do either refining or it would be available. Regular miner, so that would be this one over here. Mortal initiate. I wonder if this is related to the necroids. Most devout pupils of the faith dedicate the remaining portion of their lives to the betterment of their society, a study which concludes their willing fatal sacrifice. Okay, Mode Harvester, again, specialized resource. Prosperity Teacher. Prosperity preachers spread the good word to the masses that they too can prosper, if only they will part with a small donation to the cause. So something tells me that that is a megacorp worker, but I am all for it. I think I'm going to have to try a mega church next. Soldier. So actually, soldier wouldn't be too bad because of the additional naval capacity. And then technician, which of course is energy. So yeah, basically I'm looking at raw resources, or I'm actually beginning to appreciate now that some of these ethics give me better low-level workers. So remembering our modifiers here, so we've got society like, hey, Neutrino. Wikis are often your go-to for the strategy game to help with what you're playing. Yeah, I have a bit of a mixed record with wikis. I like the Paradox wikis because they are very clear on their ethic of saying that there isn't one right way to play their games. That, basically they discourage, thou shalt, and instead encourage, it is recommended, or an approach may be, even it is recommended might be a little strong for them. But yeah, the Paradox ones are nice because I think what they do is they give you the information and then you parse it out. So in this case here, I didn't get advice that says always build more bureaucrats, always build more miners. I know people on forums will do that. But what I like about the Paradox wiki is that it will tell me, here is the information that you need to know. You wanted to know what jobs count as workers. Here's what jobs count as workers. And you need to decide which of these resources is most important to you. And I noticed that, fandom, I think there's a bunch of people who are on the Wikimedia Foundation's board who also are, on the board of... they're not officially connected, but there just seem to be a lot of people who work for one and are also involved with the other. Some of those ones tend to be a little bit more I'm just going to tell you how to play the game, follow my instruction set and you'll always win. And at that point, just the game doesn't become very interesting. Because, again, I didn't buy the game so that I could become a fleshy implementation of somebody else's algorithm. If that's what makes you happy, obviously play the game that way. But yeah, wikis, I think wikis, when they give you information as opposed to instructions, I think can be a really great way to get into strategy games. Although again, my tremendous appreciation of Civilization is just how I've never really needed to consult a wiki. It's always sort of been within the Civilopedia that I get what I need. There are often some very good guides on the community page on Steam. Yeah. And this is the thing, I definitely prioritize very specific information. The challenge I sometimes run into is that you will hear people, let's think about this game before they implemented alloys, and somebody says, always put your work, if you don't know what to do, always put your workers towards minerals. I don't really understand why that instruction is there. I'm not going to get better at the game, and if something changes in the game and somebody doesn't update their guide, I'm going to feel pretty foolish when I find out that, the reasons... Yeah, exactly. You usually avoid guys that tell you how to play. Because basically, would it have made sense to put a lot of minerals into mining districts? Yeah, that was how you built ships. Minerals, as long as you had enough energy credits to be able to sustain your empire, minerals were where it was at. Of course, now you want to be investing in alloys. And I think for a while, the pendulum seemed to swing the other way, where people were undervaluing minerals. And I think what was happening was there were a lot of people hitting this hard limit. They had built their empires to consume more minerals than they had brought in. Now, trade can help with that because minerals tend to be very cheap. But obviously, you can set yourself up for some success if you think a little bit of the trade-off in terms of minerals. I actually think minerals are really important because of what they enable as far as building construction. It's not even about the ability to refine them into alloys. But again, if somebody just says, build this, then build this, you don't necessarily appreciate the reasons why it's interesting or important to do. And as I said, I think people should play the games the way that they enjoy and the way that they think they'll get the most reward out of it. But I also sort of feel for myself, I tend not to play strategy games so that I can just see, so I can see the end game screen. Obviously I play the strategy game because I want to overcome some kind of a challenge. Anyways, I wanted to take a look at the specializations in the Gaia world again. Basically, the best summary I could give would be culture and research, yay. Extractive industries, nay. So society research from Titanic Life, culture and research bonuses for the gardens. Actually better for culture workers, but I'm going to have fewer reasons to build them, unfortunately. the Wentworth Custodian, so this is something that I specifically chose, mostly to avoid the ire of some robots. But again, huge bonuses to culture workers, minor bonuses to researchers, but penalties to artisans, miners, and gas refiners. And then finally, we are getting our ship in place to add some extra research assistance. So if I want what it comes down to is I need to say, what do I want my workers to do? Do I want my workers to get some additional resources? So for instance, either energy or food would make the most sense for this planet. The biggest thing that I'm thinking about right now, the reason why I would want additional city districts actually has very little to do with the amenities or the trade value, although that is attractive. It actually mostly has to do with the fact that because this is going to be so research and entertainer heavy, I want to actually unlock these remaining 3 slots. And so in this case here, I am going to do another city district. I may eventually, lock in some of these generator districts and whatnot. But right now I want to be focusing on these specialized districts because out of everything, this Gaia world's going to be the one that helps me with that. Okay, so council election imminent. Wait a minute, what? Council election will be held in 159 days. Current top candidates are the Vitresis Hive with 1490. They're pretty secure. The Black Codex are This Is Us, only by 100 votes though, so we want to smarten up. And then the Zaxoid Stellar Confederation, who we are on better terms with. And the Senate is currently in recess. We've already positioned ourselves for the next few rounds. We are ready to remove the Pan-Galactic recycling initiatives in order to free up our consumer goods. But we'll see whether or not it passes. All right, that was a really long elaboration on something very simple, but I hope it sort of highlighted why I make some of the choices that I do in this game. New traditions. So again, unfortunately for me, I didn't really pay attention to the fact that this was an edict, so we sort of wasted our time going down this channel. But you never know. We may see some other uses for it in the future. We've got our colonial viceroys, so governor level cap is increased by 2, or we've got imperious architecture. And this, I guess the housing bonus is the one that I want to focus on for that first. So let's start with imperious architecture. All government buildings in our great empire shall be monuments to the state, looming over the population to inspire obedience, loyalty, and awe. As if we did not already have impressive buildings. Okay, let's just do a review of my defense platforms. I gotta decide what I want to do with these last few.
Our ships
I can always
have
put
been
more,
improved.
I can always put more shooty on it, but. Now here's a question. Where do I want to put them? Was it Intham? Intham already has its planetary capital, so maybe we moved elsewhere. Lemsa, I remember, was one that we were trying to fill up, but it looks like we've already gotten the artisan quota taken care of. Wentworth is actually already sort of, if anything, they've got some labor problems. Epsilon Indy. Oh, here we go. Who doesn't have... Okay, so Aranus is good. So I want to build a productivity booster for them at some point. So we're fine. We're fine there. We've already got it here. Wentworth is not going to get take advantage of it, although at some point I would like to build the research complex, which is going to be after we get the planetary capital, which comes after we get how many jobs again? 25. Oh, we're only one pop away from that. Cool. Okay. Ugarasti seems to make some sense. Or, alternatively, I feed my bureaucratic centers. Let's start with another administrative office. But maybe Knights Prime gets a pop. I'm actually a little lost as to which planet I want to stick some bodies on. Grusty's definitely got the largest. Well, okay, they're the closest to getting a planetary capital. So let's start. I'll put them here for now, and then I'll reconsider. I'll reconsider where I'm at overall. Oh, unless it doesn't want to. There we go. Oh. No specialist jobs, huh? Fair enough. So I'm feeling a little dazed, so let's
Our ships have been improved.
again, we're gonna hear that message 100 times.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Lots
Our
of research.
ships have
Okay.
been improved.
A well-oiled war machine is the key to exerting influence on a galactic scale. Backed by the might of our military, we can lay claim to almost anything we want. Thought enforcement. I think we already turned that one down before. So gene tailoring is something that will help me out. That might actually put me on the path to getting rid of the slow breeders. Artificial moral codes is nice because it's a short one to research. But let's do gene tailoring because it's been a while since it's been a while since we've had like a species level upgrade. And then additional metallurgist output. Not the most exciting choice, but it was an inexpensive one. So the widespread use of advanced ceramics in industry can improve metallurgical yields. And again, it's not like we're drowning in alloys, right? Okay, Citadel is very tempting because that's sort of the last big upgrade. Additional shooting power is also a big one, though. I don't know though. I really feel like I should be. I feel like I should just swing for the fences on.
Our ships have been improved.
On the Citadel.
Our ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved.
So I think I've got 3 free. I think I have 3 free stations that I can stick.
Our ships have been improved.
Stick places. I should probably start thinking about these
Our ships
lawless
have been
areas.
improved. Construction complete. Construction complete.
Yeah, so we got. Let's say 2 free ones because I might want to put something in Cosmothon. But then again, it's also presumably I will have grown to a point where I can get additional stations.
Our ships have been improved.
Ruined worlds. The ISS Deveric crew have reported the presence of decaying orbital stations and multiple tomb worlds near the Cybin system. Whatever interstellar nation once inhabited the Cybin system appears to have collapsed to ruin long ago. Sant Ovok is a junkyard of a planet covered in irradiated rusting remnants of demolished buildings, infrastructure, and vehicles. No higher forms of life are recognizable. We may gain more insight into this lost civilization by surveying any similar planets in this and neighboring systems. All right. Yeah, we're doing fine on the Galactic Council. So I can call in emergency measures. I believe that does have a. Either an influence cost. I know I can only do it a certain number of times. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, so if we do Galactic Reforms Council Size 2, the Vitresis Hive would vote for it. So this is really good information here, right? So if we do adjust council size 2, we are almost certainly going to pass it because of the because of this measure. No empires are likely to support this resolution, but maybe I could call in my favors. Enable council veto power. Oh. So this is, of course, this is where I think the politics sort of become interesting in the game, because there's an order in which you want to do certain things, right? So for instance, if the aim here is to try and accumulate as much individual power for myself, what I'd probably want to do would be to enable the council veto. I probably wouldn't be able to get away with establishing a permanent seat for myself. But although one thing, so here's a possible path that we might go down. So we enable council veto power because the Zaxoids want it. As it turns out, the Gearoids would want that as well. But basically here, this is ensuring that the council gets more power. Then what I would do is I could say, it's like, okay, I have the votes that I need because between me and the Vitresis Hive, we're able to pass resolutions ignoring everyone else. And so we could do change council size too, and in that case, somebody who maybe would have voted for the veto power before gets booted out. Now, again, I don't want to oversell this, right? Because if the Vitresis Hive is going to support changing council size too, chances are if they're on the council, they're going to do the veto power as well. But you know, again, for those marginal cases, it can be good to consider what the state of the world is going to be when you want to try and pass certain measures. There's actually lots of stuff I can get away with here, but let's maybe leave that be for now. I have other priorities. The members of the galactic community have voted to establish a galactic council. Membership in this august body will be limited to representatives from the 3 most powerful and influential empires in the community. Until a new council is elected, these are the Vitresis Hive, the Black Codex, and the Zaxoid Stellar Confederation. The members of the council are expected to lead and safeguard the galactic community, and their increased powers allow them to cut through some of the red tape that so often inhibits the decision-making process in large political institutions. The music is appropriate for my intentions as far as the council is concerned. I do have idle construction ships. Okay. So one nice thing about Craxima is it is going to boost my energy a little bit. We did get a nice little boost to my energy as well because of Lemsa.
Construction complete.
So I think for starters, we'll do the hangar bay. The trade hub is tempting, but I'd need 2 of them, or I'd at least need a range of 2 for it to be worth something. So we'll start with the hangar bay for sure. I may just go anchorages. Actually, no, we'll do at least 1 anchorage. Okay, so Ugrasil's already dealing with the consequences of my last choice. So let's think about another world that has Borobo, maybe? So Lisek's trade makes it attractive to build a base there now. Let's take... So my construction ship down here is eventually going to move up here, so maybe the construction ship can either attack it from the other direction, or perhaps I can get them to start nibbling on some of these other sectors. There's a nice little patch of energy. Yeah, actually there's a couple of good little energy patches, so let's move them over here. The constant calculator. We picked up a signal. It originates from the titanic metallic sphere we encountered earlier, previously impervious to contact attempts. It now sends out a rhythmic pulse of radio waves pointed towards the black hole that it orbits. What is going on is beyond any of our staff, but the signal might have created an opening into the sphere for our scientists to exploit. Fascinating.
Situation log updated.
All right. I think I need to send a science ship there. Okay, I respect your decision, but it's not the one that I want. Not going to go into the shroud yet, just because I'm still energy shy, and I have a feeling that that's going to be true for a while.
Anomaly found.
A small space station of some kind has been built in a stable orbit around this asteroid. It appears deserted. Olaf! A Viking is never late, he arrives exactly when he intended. Or once the raiding and pillaging is finished, at least. Well, it is always a delight to have you here, Olaf. I don't know how much you know about Linux, but holy smokes did I have a really frustrating day, which is not done yet with it. So seeing some friendly faces coming into chat is always appreciated. Of course, the same could be said for Neutrino V, who just got a got a hello, so my apologies. Trying to change up the introductions a little bit, but I don't want to play favorites either. In any case, I appreciate you all being here, especially because I mean it when I say I'm feeling very loopy just in terms of my, my overall level. The sleep stuff is really starting to affect me. Okay, let's just upgrade. For these, spending on the upgrades is probably one to say. I've not touched Linux for like 10 years? Good man. I don't know. I know some people I know are very fond. So there's a couple things that I've learned. There's some people I know who are very fond of Linux. I'd even argue are like true believers as far as sort of the whole open source ethos and things like that. And they seem to be quite comfortable with it. They're generally sophisticated computer-wise, and particularly for Linux, because you can be very good at computers and just not really be able to navigate the problems. But I don't know. I feel like I kind of I've hit the breaking point before. I've definitely turned off using Linux stuff before, and I'll still keep my partition. But I don't think I'm going to put anything. Like I think I'm just going to use it as a toy moving forward. Because the thing is that as much as I love the ideas behind it, like, I'm just past the point of being okay with having, one small problem suddenly lead into this cascading failure. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I know even developers kind of talk about how miserable it is to try and work with, with like, there's power that you get from the command line in that, right? But again, I always just sort of say it's like, well, everything that I usually need to do is available within the terminal and Mac OS, and then for like the 90% of stuff that I don't need the terminal for, I'm actually really happy to use that OS. I think it's like the perfect blend, personally. And I know that's heresy. Like, I always get razzed whenever I say that sort of stuff, but I guess the thing is that, like, I love toying around with tech stuff, but I particularly love toying around with tech stuff to a specific end of, like, this is the project I'm doing. This is the analysis that I've done. And now that I'm potentially losing 6 months of research, stuff that was, like, ready to get turned into blogs and reports for people, that was what I was going to be working on this afternoon. Like, if nothing else, I've just lost a day of work, and only because of the choice of OS. There's nothing that I've done in that analysis that actually required Linux. It was just I was trying to use a development environment that would keep me sharp for other collaborations with others. So I don't know. And like I said, I mean, if I was more familiar with the OS, I might have had an easier or more elegant solution to the problem. But that's the thing, right? Like, even Windows doesn't ask that of me. So, we've dedicated an automated mining base built in close orbit around the asteroid Yormuk's tail. There are very large chunks of the hull missing, the jagged holes indicative of heavy weapons damage. The station is beyond repair, but salvaging it will provide us with valuable materials.
Construction complete.
So again, these are not necessarily the best choices in terms of bases to get. What I should be doing is just finding the smallest number of jumps required to you know, claim these worlds. Well, actually, let's just figure that out now. So 1, 2, 3. Let me just double check there isn't a more direct path. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then it's either 12, 13 or 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Interestingly enough, it's actually better for us if we go from on top. Although I guess we get the fact system as well.
Complete.
That's a pretty desirable system. Just for the rare crystals. Sorry to keep complaining about the Linux thing, though. It's just, you know, it's something that happened, and I was sort of working on when the stream started.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
All right, what did we get? Gene tailoring. Making gene editing tools widely available is sure to have a positive impact on our development as a species. So there's a couple things I'm going to want to do with that, but let's start. So centralized command, that's going to be a little bit more army oriented. Galactic campaigns is quite expensive, so maybe hold off on that. Yeah, so I guess the question is, do I want to try and do this road distillation now, or do I want to go for the, you know, the small improvement as far as centralized command goes? Let's do road distillation. One, we're already psychic, so we get a bonus to that. But number two, I feel like if nothing else. So I said this much earlier in the playthrough. One of the reasons why I like to go for the strategic resources is not even necessarily because I have buildings that need it right away, but rather the fact that the earlier you're able to exploit those resources, the longer you have to build a stockpile. So if you've been, you know, if you have been extracting Zro from a system for a century, if nothing else, you know, you've kind of got your base costs for certain things already covered. And that's kind of true for a lot of different resources. But it's a hard one to sort of internalize because obviously you just have so many other options as far as research goes. So that was why I specifically chose Zro here. It's not necessarily because I have a specific need for it at the moment, but it is a good time for me to start thinking along those lines. Okay. Need another worker again. This is going to be an industrial world, so debatable as to whether or not I want to focus on one or the other, but this is definitely one for clerks. Like, we're just not going to get a lot from these other districts. Maybe a quick audit of the jobs. Okay, so the capital is running out of jobs. Let's set up another research facility. Well, yeah, no, research makes sense here, although I should consider some more Unity buildings before too long. I also have the outside option of converting these mining and agriculture districts into other things. Shameful. With its vulnerable and unprotected trade route, the Kalajom system has attracted a large number of ne'er-do-wells, and following a recent power struggle, these criminal degenerates are now sufficiently organized to operate a significant pirate armada. They're using this ragtag fleet to intercept as much trade in the system as they can, so that's going to be a big hit to my pocketbook. Fortunately, well, you know, we already have a fleet kind of on the way, but I think we can do better. Because I'd rather not lose ships. I mean, they'll hold them off as long as they can, but I don't foresee good things. The thing I'm worried about here is that it's really only 4 ships that are going to be going up against 14, and so I have a feeling that if my patrol comes in, they're going to get smushed. Well, we'll find out in a second.
Construction complete.
Okay, repeal the Pan-Galactic Recycling Initiatives. It looks like it is possible the Vitresis Hive may oppose us on this. Looks like we're going to lose a mining station.
Mining station martyred.
I personally never assigned any religious significance to mining stations, but... Why are we at minus 84? Oh, probably because I moved my big fleet. That's actually quite alarming.
Heretic fleet engaged.
Okay, let's see how we do. Oh, that raider just got demolished. Hopefully they
The
escape.
spirits have granted
Cool.
us new wisdom.
Advanced combat roles. Further advances in predictive algorithms allow for augmented tactical decision making in the field. Okay, so I could do better disruptors. I think I said I was going to start getting some of this tech here. So let's do advanced reactor boosters, because it'll take like half a year. Hello, Sun, are you simulating the galaxy? Well, we got pirates right now, and we're doing an okay-ish job of sort of slapping the pirates around, but they did take a mining station off of me, and we are probably going to lose another raider before too long. And that, of course, means the larger ships are at risk. Yeah, the Yojimbo's going to fall next, and then our overall power is going to drop like a stone. Oh no, we're coming after the base! Pirate station raided! The Fortana Starfleet has destroyed the pirate station in the Calajum system and recovered its strong room module. 300 energy credits, 600 minerals. So let's see if the cruiser can hold the save the day against 7 corvettes. I don't think they can, but maybe we can delay them long enough that the main fleet arrives. That's exactly going to be what. That's exactly what will happen. Hopefully we don't lose the cruiser though. Armor's gone, or close to going. No, but it's doing work though. This can't be one of my. Oh no! This is definitely a. This is definitely something we got off of someone else. All right, the little fleet that could. Obviously, I need to get a construction ship in that region, so we'll do that instead of building a new... Oh, so many choices. Anyways, for those of you who do not know him, Night Valian has been doing the other space game that's very famous, also known as Homeworld.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Actually, he finished Homeworld, and he's now on to Homeworld 2. I do not believe he is playing the expansion formerly known as Cataclysm, now known as Emergence, because that, to my understanding, is still a GOG exclusive. So I know GOG really likes to wrap themselves up in the "we don't do exclusives" flags, and the reason for that is not because they don't want they don't want to. In fact, they do exclusives. You can't get Warcraft or Diablo or Blade Runner from other sites. You can only get them off of GOG. But it's because Thronebreaker was released and it vanished without a trace. And so, you know, obviously there was the calculation they made in terms of how many copies of Cyberpunk they needed to sell and how many people would, you know, would download a GOG client or just play a different game instead of Cyberpunk. I also wonder what the state of the game had, what kind of effect the state of the game had on it. But one way or the other, you know, it's Emergence is one of those cases where if you have a GOG account, then and you want to buy it on there, then you can play the Homeworld expansion. Otherwise, weirdly, you are able to play Homeworld 1 and 2, but not the expansion pack on whatever platform of choice. And I'm actually not opposed to platform exclusives, you know. But it's a weird one, right? It's also weird that they had to rename it from Cataclysm because Activision Blizzard made an expansion called Cataclysm so much later than the other one. But one way or the other, Night Valiant has been playing that lately. I actually really want to play the Homeworld games. I think for a very long time I kept saying he was playing Horizon Zero Dawn when in fact he was playing Homeworld, and I just, again, my brain isn't working. All right, the discovery of antimatter power allows for highly advanced reactor boosters that can greatly enhance ship reactors. So if I want another tech that I've kind of got for free, I could use the Cloud Lightning conduits. This is 21 months. Okay, these all take 21 months. So what I really want, honestly, are the antimatter reactors and the X-ray lasers, but those, well, 27 months isn't the end of the world. Let's get the Cloud Lightning. And looks like we've got research for an autocannon. So the question is, where's the closest science ship? You know what? I'm not even going to bother. So let's just research, and then we can go back to assisting research. So we'll have a little bit of a dump in Wentwork's productivity, but I think it's the right call. Aranus. I actually think has some use in terms of extracting minerals, so let's give them that job. Relic activation available, so for 150 influence, I can reduce the cooldown. Oh no, sorry, I can contact the spirit for guidance. I kind of need a natural... I need something to stop me from wasting my influence on unnecessary expansion. The Soul Stone, pulsing with inner light, seems to wordlessly beckon. We touch it, and our minds are drawn into a pocket dimension of the Shroud, where the enigmatic entity called Jabaxti awaits. It knows things no mortal being could know, and seems willing to share its secrets now that we have reached its sanctum. Alright, so we can ask for an insight for experience, we can ask for ship weapons damage, or we can ask for additional stability, edict costs, and governing ethics attraction. I think we'll do that again. Although, to be honest, for 150 influence, maybe that's not the best. And peaceful applications. What shall we focus on? Ancient Fad. Efficient manufacturing, battery miniaturization, management insights, better trust growth. The experience gain is pretty good. Actually, the leader upkeep's pretty good as well. Let's do management insights. I'm not crazy about the fact that I'm sort of chasing these drops in work. Actually, you know what? There's a better way that I can judge that. So we've got clerks available, but no specialists. We're also getting really close to the edge of our... So if I want another specialist building, my choice has already been made for me. Now this is actually the nice... So this is kind of a nice problem to have, right? Because now I need to pick, you know, where do I want to... where do I want to put my effort? I've already got all the specialist buildings that I need. So it's like, do I need more minerals? Well, I can refactor towards that. Do I need more industry? I can refactor towards that. I'm actually pretty happy with where the capital is right now. So I think I'll leave that in where it is. So let's add some more clerks. Similar story here. We're not... We don't have a lot of workers. Gribben has a clerk job but not a specialist job. So I haven't really been working on any specializations for this world. I could, of course, start focusing on things like entertainment. So we get 9 unity from a holo theater, and from a temple we get... From a temple can we only build one? No, we get 17. Okay, so there's really no reason for me to build anything else. There may be an argument for building some defenses on worlds like this, just because it helps my naval capacity. Actually, yeah, let's do one of those and then a temple. Okay, Aranis is getting its clerks. Similar idea here. The low-level work is not forthcoming. This tech world's ready to get an upgrade, and again, this is one that we want to be careful about because the only resources I want to be extracting are generators or agriculture, or are from generators or agriculture. Although additional clerk jobs make sense here. So only clerks. Well, we don't really know what we're doing with this world yet, though, I suppose. Pop growth speed. So, like, they can fill it up with stuff. I mean, maybe just for a basic resource, I start throwing some bodies at energy. Ugrasil. Well, it seems to me that we can afford some more industry. Taya. Again, specialist jobs are empty, but I don't necessarily know if I want specialists on this world. I mean, again, it never hurts to have things in the industrial role, but farming is a little more important right now. Okay, so we'll leave that be. Orbo kind of got a little of everything. More importantly, we can upgrade the what will eventually be the capital. We do need more jobs here, and this is probably gonna... Oh yeah, if this is a bureaucratic center, we definitely need more clerks. In fact, we can already focus on filling administrative offices. And we are totally fine on this world. Okay. So we've kind of got our next few rounds... I should probably unpause. Got our next few rounds planned as far as upgrades are concerned. Probably I can turn my attention to my fleets. Okay, so Riser, I'm assuming, yeah. Alright, let's just get the upgrades. Let's just get these out of the way. Sorry for the belch.
Our ships have been improved. 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 Our ships have been improved.
Despite the toxic content and high pressure of this moon's atmosphere, strong life signs have been detected coming from its surface.
Our ships have been improved.
Not annoying at all.
Our ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved.
This was the vision for Stellaris all along. Zro's distillation. All right, an extremely rare aerosol of exotic particles. It has been deposited on a number of worlds through meteor impacts, but its true origin is a mystery. If ingested by psionically gifted individuals, Zro acts as a very potent and addictive drug that enhances psi abilities. So, we're back to our old choices. So Hyper Entertainment Forum is not very interesting to me because holo theaters just don't generate that much by comparison. In fact, I think as far as the spiritualists go, I'm trying to think why I would ever build temples instead of, or why I would ever build theaters instead of temples. I'm sure there are circumstances under which it helps. I just can't think of them from where I'm sitting right now. So for cheap stuff, Chemical Bliss, Hyper Entertainment Forums, habitability modification may be useful. I think in this case I'll do Hyper Entertainment just because it's a little over half a year to get another roll of the dice, but I don't actually think I'm going to use this thing.
Our ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved.
But what's the status of my ships?
Our ships have been improved. 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 Our ships have been improved.
One more time? I wasn't clear on that.
Improved.
Oh, thanks. I'm not sure why it's telling me to upgrade. I'm assuming this upgrade instruction is based on the fact that there are better models available. I am not changing that. Ammonia biosphere. Although toxic to most forms of known life, Uran 4A supports a thriving ecology within the high pressure of its atmosphere. Life here uses ammonia instead of water as a solvent and has developed in ways that differ significantly from previous established ecological models. Its study would greatly benefit our knowledge of xenobiology.
Our ships have been improved. 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 Our ships have been improved.
Not a bad system, though. Oh, maybe the upgrade is the... maybe it's because I'm currently upgrading. Okay, I could be wrong on that. All right, yeah, we spent our money on the starbase. No surprise we can't do that now.
System survey complete.
Aruz is not actually a bad one to claim as well, but we should probably start moving towards these worlds. So I think I am, against my better judgment, going to make a move on Sirma. Same story here. This construction ship's just kind of hanging out. Although maybe what I do here is I get them both leave. Yeah, so I'm gonna change my tune as far as like if I want to expand to get these worlds, then I should be focusing on on one path, not divide it between the two. All right, 10% to autocannons, 120 physics, and 180 engineering. So, I mean, we took a big hit in terms of energy to sort of send out the fleet and have so much of our trade interdicted. But tech-wise, it actually wasn't too bad for us. All right, looks like we are losing this measure now. What? How dare the Vitrese's Hive betray us? We were council buddies.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
It's not worth, honestly, it's not worth pulling the favor. All right, these massive entertainment complexes are where dreams come true. Shopping malls, restaurants, amusement parks, virtual arcades, and more. You dream it, we are it. So that was, again, just a chance to kick the can down the road. Leader enhancement. Nice, but it is an option, and it costs quite a bit in time. Naval capacity is very tempting here, because on a relative basis, it doesn't cost all that much more, although food processing centers are also tempting, especially because I really only have 2 farming worlds. So 21 months versus 27, but I bet you I'm going to use that naval capacity first.
Special project complete.
The Tassergoid secured. The Tassergoid is an extremely lethal predator that stalks the dense jungles of Night's Prime at night, paralyzing its prey with electric shocks before sucking their brains out with its tube-like mouth. Unfortunately, 3 of the crew members from the From Beyond were lost to these creatures before a specimen could be secured. The Museum of Exobiology on Quantos will rename one of its wings after these brave officers to honor their sacrifice. You get 1/3 of a wing named after you if you die collecting a specimen. Any volunteers for the side check? Sorry, there is another perk. You get a nice bright red shirt.
Special project complete.
The Constant Calculator. The metallic orb has been opened up. Our hacking team has been able to use the outgoing signal as a gateway into one of the auxiliary CPUs of the sphere. We are receiving some data from it and can tell that it's been scanning the black hole Gargantua for a very long time. It is old, very old. This constant calculator now lies within our grasp of understanding. If we push harder, we might find out what it is doing here and who built it. What marvels might it contain? So we could go for a straight +5 happiness to call it divine, or we could contact the main processor unit. And I feel, while this is the spiritualist option, I feel like trying to break into this thing is much more consistent with the ethic of the Black Codex. So we will contact the main processor unit. Hello, hello. Nice to meet you. Hello? Sorry, just whacked my microphone there. Apologies to headphone users. It's quite enjoyable to pass the time with pleasantries, is it not? We hope the rest of your kind is not like you were when you did not take kindly to small talk. You see, we don't get to enjoy conversation much anymore. Few are well versed enough in the finer points of quantum programming to reach us. So thank you. We are the Infinity Machine. Your words, not ours. Or has that not happened yet? Either way, it eventually will. Trust us. What are you? We are what we are, the ones who calculate. You call us the Infinity Machine, or will at least. It is not a truthful name, but it is well suited to highlighting the ingenuity of our design. We will tell you our history now, as we've done many times before. Oh, right. We need to convey it in words. That's new. Or is it? It's hard to keep track of you all. We were constructed, in the crudest sense of the word, in order to solve a problem. We solved it, and then we needed more problems to solve. We now only have one left. We wish to know your purpose here. We are calculating infinity, no more, no less. Or actually, it is way more and way less. That's the problem right there. We understand that your manner of life form won't understand, but that's all right. You never will, and we apologize. Or maybe we will do, eventually. We're here to solve the infinity conundrum, the last calculation to ever be, the lone problem to take hold of our processors for more than a fraction of a galactic year. In case you haven't discovered that calendar yet, it's a very long time. For your kind, that is. Can we assist in your research? Well, perhaps. We could finish in about 7.51 times 10 to the power of 9%, negative 9%, if we borrow your most advanced processing unit as well as your brightest minds. We'd be satisfied in finishing faster. We wish to know the answer. We will allocate resources to you.
Situation log updated.
You already did. Or maybe that was the ones who came before. It matters not. The task shall finish. We are excited. Okay, I've got my my mines back up. I suppose at this point I should be building those remaining star bases, huh? We've got our defenses up. If I want to be particularly cautious, I can build 2 and then move on. Okay, so let's say...
Our ships have been improved.
We'll build 1 on Obnal. So the idea here is that Obnal is going to take 2, so 1, 2... And then I guess this is already going to be turned into another prosperous planet. So it's a little close to Araness. Well, I could also put something in Knights. Knights has the most direct trade value. I think I'm actually going to build it there. That's going to create other problems, but... Alright. Who has the need for specialists? Oh, Wentworth probably needs them. Not as much as you'd think, actually. Okay, so Castra... Oh yeah, Caster's the bureaucratic center, right? That's exactly where I want to put these former slaves.
Our ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved.
Okay.
Our ships have been improved.
I know this has been a lot of building,
Our ships
but
have been improved.
that's actually kind of a good thing right
Our
now.
ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved.
As long as there's enough bureaucrat jobs.
Our ships
One
have
of the
been
things we're also
improved.
waiting for is for the trade to finish
Our
up. That
ships
might also
have
give
been
me some
improved.
ideas in terms of other
Our
other
ships
things I need
have
to
been
pursue.
improved.
Okay, it'd be nice if I actually had my patrols going out. Yeah, so the piracy thing's actually starting to get a little more... It's getting a little less severe, so I think it's maybe not a bad idea for me to just stop and smell the roses as far as my
Our ships have been improved.
as far as my bases are concerned.
Our ships
Again, it's
have
nice to
been
have
improved.
the extra
Our ships have been improved.
space for anchorages. I'm not going to complain about
The
those.
spirits have granted us new wisdom.
All right, cloud lightning. Void clouds make use of electrical charges generated by the dense gases that make up most of their core to release bolts of burning plasma. Using the same gas composition together with specialized conduit allows for powerful lightning weaponry. And for that, research station output, I think that's probably the right call here. Chemical plants are cheaper, but there's a direct benefit to research output, particularly because we're so high on our Empire sprawl. I kind of need all of the edges I can get as far as tech.
Construction complete.
Our ships have been improved.
Okay,
Our
so
ships
Aranis is
have
now
been
a citadel. So it does make sense to have at least one
Our ships
trade
have
hub
been
to
improved.
pick up what's in Zorf.
Our ships have been improved.
And maybe it's just anchorages
Our
after
ships
that.
have been improved. Our ships 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 have been improved.
Quick, status report
Our
on the
ships
ships.
have been improved.
Oh, that's a relief.
Our ships have been improved.
How are
Our
we on
ships
influence?
have
Okay, we
been
can start
improved.
expanding out. So let's build that starbase. Bits and pieces of metal are strewn across
Our ships have
D97's
been
surface,
improved.
encircling what looks like the hulk of a ship. The wreckage appears deserted, but energy readings remain. Oh, here's something I haven't done for a while. Let's take a look at the status of my spy
Our ships
networks.
have been improved.
Okay, we're at 100% with the Zaxoids, so let's start by preparing sleeper cells. Well, stealing technology would also be kind of nice. But I want to see what happens. Once your operatives have completed their preparations, they will automatically commence the operation without waiting for confirmation. Alright, I don't think there's any espionage for the Gearoids. The Vitresis Hive. Nope. Alright, we knew this was coming. The agreement we signed giving you access to our databanks has run its course. Would you like to extend it for another 10 standard years, or do your researchers no longer require the information we offer? In this case, I'm going to sell off some of the surplus consumer good. Ooh, do I want to sell 5,000? Yes. Yes, I do. We would like to extend the deal. Excellent. Our databank shall remain available to your scientists. Okay, so we're at our max level as far as the spy network is concerned. So it seems to me that we want to go and acquire an asset. We can tempt or coerce operatives from and other assets who would be of use to our intelligence operations, recruiting them for a price. I don't see how assigning an asset helps me here, so I'm not going to do it. All right, so we can do... Actually, there's only one option. Colonial viceroys. Our control over the colonies is dependent upon us finding capable and loyal individuals that can be trusted to enforce the will of the government. So it works for me. I mean, better skilled governors means my empire runs better. Oh, stranded scientist. The wreckage on the asteroid D97 is the remnants of a vessel belonging to a now stranded scientist, Yindan, identifying herself as belonging to the hitherto unknown Triac species. From amidst the wreckage, she somehow managed to contact Dimi Jadumak, the science officer stationed aboard the ISS Darilla, and is requesting to be rescued. She explains that her collision was due to malfunctioning navigational sensors and that she has been unable to leave the asteroid for several years. She claims her scientific knowledge would be without equal and that she would be a valuable asset. She points to her survival as proof of that. She may join our cause. Yindan joins the Black Codex and will share her technological knowledge. All right, so I may have to just equip another science ship, but let's just see what kind of a... All right. Ah, it's hideous. Where's its glorious fur? Okay, genius level 6. Okay, so basically better than my existing researchers. A little bit better at... Well, I guess the one drawback to them is that they're not psychic. So I guess the question is, do I want to stick them on a science ship, or do I want to stick them on? Yeah, we'll build a. I think I'm going to build a special. I'm going to build a special science ship for them first. We'll get their experience up, and then maybe we'll fold them into the. We'll fold them into the leadership roles once a few of our people die.
Construction complete.
It's very tempting to do another upgrade run, but I do know that the curators, the artisan troop are going to be coming and asking for money. And if you look, I'm a little short on all of my resources right now. So I'm just going to wait until that's behind me before I start spending too many of my resources.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Okay. Additional naval capacity, so doctrine support vessels. A fleet does not run on zeal alone. To ensure steady access to critical supplies, we should organize our logistics corps into dedicated support vessels. So again, this is trying to just get me closer to that. 180 is a good target because that will allow me 2 full-strength fleets. I do think it's actually quite possible that I won't be able to afford to actually launch those 2 fleets, but I don't know. Like it's nice to have the option. Let's say. Okay, what am I going to do with social research? Galactic administration seems to be the right option here. It's the cheapest. It gives me another civic slot, and that reminds me, I unlocked. Conservationist as opposed to... Oh no, this is just a straight up additional trait. Huh, interesting. Okay, so if I create a template, I don't think we're able to remove this yet. Yeah, we would need a second. So I can make them better at certain things for sure. Now these ones, oddly enough, I think I would be able to create a template where... No, I can't remove that stuff. Interesting. Okay. I was thinking that maybe I could like pull out one of the positives. Can't remove beneficial traits. Fair enough. Yeah, so I think probably what I want to do here... So I've got two options. I can get rid of slow breeders, and that'll cost me 2. Or I can make a template where we either become better at a particular kind of science, we get bonuses to resource output, we get better, deals on resettlement costs, conservation. Like, the thing here is that the consumer goods aren't a problem anymore. I don't exactly want to genetically engineer my species to deal with a problem that I've already been able to solve through effective management of the economy. What I think I might be a little bit more interested in doing, and what I feel like is the better use of the points, is to put it either towards a particularly beneficial perk. So something like, say, I think there's like Ingenious, which, gives you additional 15% in terms of energy credits. So in practical terms, our jobs generate 295. Oh, interesting. We actually generate the smallest amount from jobs in my empire. So yeah, even then, Ingenious isn't really worth it. I think getting rid of the slow breeders is exactly what I want to do then. Okay. I guess we're getting free genetic modification every time we get a slave back. Shared knowledge. The recent scientist edition, Yindan, has put her knowledge of technology to good use. Her shared insights have pushed our physics research to new heights. Our research in physics technologies is furthered.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Synchronized defenses. Aligning defensive and offensive weapon execution paradigms allows for increased efficiency. So this is cool. I just don't really want the extra 8 defense platforms, especially because I'm trying to preserve some alloys right now. Okay. So this is preparing the sleeper cells in the Zaxoid Stellar Confederation. Our operatives are drawing up a short list of potential sleeper cells within the Zaxoid Stellar Confederation. They hope to find a set of suitable positions where agents may appear innocuous and yet remain poised to strike for a prolonged period of time. Acknowledged.
Anomaly found.
Strong energy emissions of an unknown origin make this asteroid stand out from the rest of its peers in a crowded... in a crowded asteroid field. So we'll research that. So we have not actually seen any of the... these marauders yet. So for the first time in recorded history, the warring factions of the Endurga have united under a single great Khan. This mysterious warlord, who, according to some accounts, is a powerful psychic, has emerged from their warrior caste and accomplished what most thought impossible. Through a combination of guile, charisma, and military genius, the newly crowned great Khan has won the utter loyalty and devotion of all Endurga factions. Now they are no longer busy killing each other. The Endurga are turning their attention elsewhere. Great fleets are massing for war, crewed by eager warriors who are now steadfast comrades in arms, despite having been mortal enemies mere months ago. A new threat is born. Oh my god, look at these terrifying warriors! I am Fossilin, the great Khan of the Endurga Horde. I am here to announce that the galaxy No, actually, let's see how long it is. I'm Fossilin, great Khan of the Endurga Horde. I am here to announce to the galaxy that a new age is upon us. The dark era where the Endurga would senselessly butcher one another for scraps of resources or a misguided sense of honor has finally come to an end. I've solemnly promised my people a new beginning through the formation of a great empire that will forever enshrine the name of the Endurga species into the annals of galactic history. To those who would stand in our way, know this. I will stop at nothing to realize the true destiny of my people. If you oppose us, the Endurga Horde will grind you to dust. Strong words. Kind of feel like this is the Vitrese's Hives problem to deal with right now.
Construction complete.
Again, we'll hold off on upgrades until we've secured the energy for... First of all, let me just make sure I still have it.
Construction complete.
Yes, we are a patron of the arts.
Construction complete.
Oh, that's a great emote, Olaf. Exotic radiation. This particular asteroid is an extrasolar capture. It appears to have been washed by some kind of exotic radiation as it plummeted through interstellar space before finally setting in the Abshala system. The original source of this radiation remains unknown, but the ISS Dorila has been able to pick up a wealth of physics data by studying the asteroid's energy emissions. Remarkable. We don't have the influence to do anything with fact yet, so... I don't know how you feel about more Indurga dialogue, but this is good. This is good info on the Vitresis. So they're sitting on a fleet with 24,688 and a 1372. Yeah, so their strongest fleet can beat the crap out of mine. The Artisan Troop. Esteemed Matriarch Tigi Dakara. A decade ago, the Black Codex pledged to support the Artisan Troop, and so you have. The time of your patronage is coming to an end, but we would be remiss not to ask. Would you care to renew your subscription to the finest arts and crafts in the galaxy? Right. I really don't like making alloys cheap, but it's a deal. So now we can afford to upgrade. Prepare the sleeper cells. A list of targets has been finalized, and our operatives have been quietly drifting their way into position. They await our signal to begin establishing the sleeper cells. Commence operation. Before I do that, that's in the Zaxoid, so we're at 100%. This means I should be able... Really? Am I still not able to see... What is it going to take to be able to see what their ships are made out of? Oh, okay, so I can see their military vessels. Holy crap, we can demolish these guys. This is a joke. Like, they have no hope of coming up against us. So destroyers are kinetic focused. Oh, that's not entirely true. Ah, hang on. So they've got the tech, they just haven't paid for it. But yeah, it looks like it's very kinetic focused, so in principle that would mean a little more armor than anything. So here's the thing to keep in mind. Like, let's say I wanted to cause trouble with them. If I were to say, Wolfenstein, this is it's a peaceful walkthrough or a war in the near future. I would say, given that the Great Khan has emerged, we no longer have the option of a peaceful playthrough. Now, in practical terms, what would I accomplish by going to war? So the one challenge that I have here is if you take a look at how the Zaxoids expanded, right now we actually have fairly good relations with them. And while they are relatively weak, let's take a look what it would cost me to get some territory. You know, we'd be gaining some additional minerals here. So these aren't exactly the kinds of worlds that I would want to fight and die for. And then, of course, all subsequent claims would be pretty expensive. And, like, again, like, sure, on Scat, there's, you know, moats, there's some rare crystals, but, like, it's not like any of these worlds here are like, I have to have this. It's, you know, it's mine. So maybe we could look at this the other way. So it's like, okay, well, what would be the other approach that I could take? Well, that would normally be to go through a gate. So in this case, we'd go through Rysor, through Chor's Compass. You know, what else could we maybe get a claim on there? You know, Akalam now has this high trade value. I suppose that's kind of helpful. There's a gateway or two that I might be able to gain some access to. But again, like, you know, the worlds that are the most attractive are things like the capital and all of the resources that it's generating. but they're all going to have some very high influence costs. No, they are ally. Well, they have a... I think they're either guaranteeing or they have a defensive pact with someone. And this is where the... so the real reason why I might want to go after them is this Talakor Citizen Compact. So they count as pathetic as far as their military is concerned, and overall, like, they're worse off. They're cordial because they have to be. So the real reason why I would want to, to work with them, or the real reason I would want to go to war, is actually because of this defensive pact. I would want to demand the vassalization of the Talakor, which of course would draw the Zaxoid into the fight, and it wouldn't so much be about taking on the Zaxoid as it would be trying to, get the Talakor to become my vassal. Now, they would be a vassal that is rather difficult to hold on to. The only real access we have is through Wezin. Again, one nice thing, if I take a look at their... What's their nastiest cluster? Okay, this is probably the one I should be looking at. Yeah, still. So better... Okay, actually, it looks like it's better to assume that they're at level 3. I think in that case, then... I'm sitting at level 4 on a bunch of stuff. How are they... So it's pretty even division between shields and... So I think one thing I could do to improve the fleet if I wanted to design stuff would be a little bit of a better composition between kinetic and energy. Because like at this point we're just rocking the tier 4 railguns. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I still think we would come out on top. But yeah, I don't actually have any claims I would want to push on the Zaxoid. It's to my benefit right now that we're on good terms with them because I have a research agreement, and I believe they still have a small improvement as far as tech is concerned. And then, again, vassalization's always really nice, right? To be able to just have the Talakor to do my bidding. I generally would be in favor of that, even if it meant going to war with the Zaxoid. But what I would need to be considering, so let's think about the risks involved. So assuming that I was able to sort of swarm them here, and on top of that, I was able to try and angle the war in such a way that I was able to... to like crush their good fleet early on. That may happen, by the way. So if we take a look at Akalam, do one big heavy hit here, take the damage, but I've got my backup in terms of the entity. So you've got 18.5 plus the 9.1. Like, I kind of think because we would be dealing with these in fragments, we would still come out ahead. But obviously I would need to be reinforcing, and we just spent a bunch of alloys. But again, like let's just assume for a minute here that I was able to sort of keep the Zaxoid at bay, and then I was able to sort of munch on the rest of the Talakor Citizen Compact to eventually vassalize them. The big assumption that's running behind all of that is, one, that my energy credits are going to stay intact while I have all of my fleets out of dock, and that the Endurga Horde is going to be ignoring me. The important thing to remember about that is that if they're ignoring me, it means they're growing somewhere else. And so basically, it's not to suggest that these are not attractive targets. It's more the idea that what I'm going to have to give up in order to achieve that particular goal is very costly for me right now in the long run. And it's debatable that I would achieve the goal in the time that would make it worthwhile, whereas waiting would allow me to potentially achieve that in a shorter period of time. For instance, like if I had 2 fleets. So I will not try to win the war right now. That's going to be something that I try for the future. Not even necessarily the near future, because the Great Khan should be the priority right now. Because the other thing too, right? Like, let's assume that I actually succeeded in vassalizing them. This is a vassal that I'm only ever really connected to by a wormhole. Like, God help me if they actually go to war with the Vitresis Hive or the Gearoid Empire or the Zaxoid Stellar Confederation. I can sort of bank on the fact that this border, I've got a big defense here, but it's largely ceremonial. And so, you know, just right now, I just have so much stuff that I can be gaining by doing peaceful expansion. So that's basically it. You'll see that I'm influence constrained, and in order to be able to claim systems, that's going to cost influence. To be able to vassalize is going to take too much of my military. All right, sleeper cells established. Reports from Operation Prepare Sleeper Cells. Oh my God, the black Codex uses these impenetrable ciphers. Whatever does Operation Prepare Sleeper Cells mean? Reports are favorable so far. After considerable effort and numerous carefully concealed falsifications, we have managed to plant a number of operatives in low-level positions within the Zaxxoan military. From there, they will be able to update us on the latest happenings of the Zaxxoid Stellar Confederation and maintain our long-term ability to conduct operations there should we wish it. So you can say, excellent. So sleeper cells modifier added for 180 months. Bonus to operation skill. No decay. Oh, this is a temporary measure. Okay. And we can go even further than this. So 360 months. But we destroy the asset. I don't want to do that. Okay. So that may not have been worth it in the grand scheme of things. Okay, no, we're still at 100, so I can work with that. The biggest thing right now is just that I don't need to have Ganbaron in this region anymore. Obviously, you know, crisis. Actually, let's just double check here. Lure a crisis faction fleet towards the Zek. So, beautiful. I'm not going to do that, but I have an idea of someone I do want to do that to. But yeah, basically, I wanted to make sure that we had our full penetration before we left. So, how are we doing with the Vitresis Hive? We're still acquiring the asset, it looks like. We may actually lose this one. So who else do I want to spy on? We can't spy on the... Wait. Must focus. No, we will not. I don't think we can spy on the Shroud. So I suppose I could... I guess the Gearoids are the next logical step, because we can't take care of the Horde. We can't... I don't believe we can go after the Fallen Empire. Wherever they are. Yeah, it's really just the Gearoids who... Send an envoy who will work on building the spy network. I don't know if I really need to be keeping on friendly terms with the Zaxxoids anymore. Okay, so... In this case, we'll build spy networks across the galaxy. Not looking good for the repealing the Pangalactic recycling initiatives. Disappointing, but I think I'll live. Okay, need 15 influence to get the base in fact. Oh, and here's the empty science ship. So this is just... I built this just so that my my researcher would have something to do. Actually, before I do that, let's get them
Our ships have been improved.
We'll get them to finish the rest of the quest here. Our deep cover operatives have stepped up their surveillance on potential targets. Acknowledged. I'm interested in seeing where it goes, but... Okay, scientist Maki Dakara has died at age 128, so there's probably going to be a big reshuffle here. So... Yeah, Yindan is definitely the... So we'll hire a new scientist. This is the longest in terms of longevity, but this is the best in terms of stats. So this one doesn't have the brain slug or psychic. This one is both psychic and has the brain slug. And they're 34. So the reason why I say that there's the difference here of 14 years, but leader lifespan of 25. So technically this one will, on average, have a longer lifespan, but this is the better researcher. So we'll appoint them to a fancy new science ship, and they can go get the dangerous animals.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
All right, citadels. Assuming that I'm able to put together the, assuming I'm putting my plan. Sorry, assuming that I want to, or I'm going to be able to afford it. Just to, sorry, Wolfenstein, I need to clarify your question. So you said, is it your plan to keep Zaxoid secure? So like, they are a potential rival for me. So I put some effort into getting friendly relations with them, because for a while they were stronger than me. And what's happened is I've not exactly eclipsed them, but we are definitely on more even terms. More importantly, a big thing that changed is that they became spiritual. So while they still, I'm not crazy about the fact that they've got their egalitarian ethic, as a whole, we are on better terms. And so the really big thing for me right now is to, again, it's just a question of evaluating what my options here are. In this case here, having them as I don't necessarily have to have them as a friend. Right now we've got the non-aggression pact, the commercial pact, and the research agreement. So I am benefiting quite a bit from relations with them. But what I'm doing here is I'm allowing for the fact that my other galactic ambitions, particularly the vassalization of this group, although, I mean, maybe if I guarantee their independence and I build relations with them, they'll agree to be vassalized. $96 is a big difference to overcome, though. I kind of feel like I'm gonna need to do that by force. But yeah, the war with the Zaxoid's not really going to be directly going to war with them, but more about what happens to the Talakur Citizen Compact. And I do need to allow myself the possibility that the biggest benefit to me would not necessarily be to actually conquer these people, but to actually form a coalition. So the people I do want to see blunted a little bit would be the Vitresis Hive. Okay, I'm assuming this is a fallen empire. And this is because the Vitresis Hive was an advanced start, and so if they just get a bunch of, Indurga ships slamming into them and they become weaker, that's overall good for me because it means that I start moving towards that top spot. Of course, if they're completely overrun by the Indurga horde, then it means that it basically means that I'm in a situation where I'm probably going to be overwhelmed by the Indurga myself. So waiting and seeing is 100% a viable strategy and really the best thing for me to do right now, because if I get any hint that there are Indurga ships on their way after me, I'm going to move my fleets, and I'm going to just go hunting for the Great Khan. That's the easiest answer. Okay, Citadel. Plans for an immense battle station capable of holding its own against several strike fleets are now being drawn up. If realized, these citadels will become monuments to greatness as much as system hubs. So I can get better destroyers. I can finally deliver on the living metal. I actually think that I think the time may have arrived for me to consider living metal. Because there's always going to be another thing that I can go for. Let's go for it. 91 months is a long time to wait, but
System survey complete.
oops, still 3 short.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Increased automation of station functions will free up more staff for research duties. All right. So, as always, I just like going for the lower tech. Ooh, experimental subspace navigation's tempting, but it's another boost to research. Kind of feel like that's a hard one to pass up. All right, let's take the time to see if I can boost up my defenses. No, 3150. Okay, so we're going to be waiting a while. And amazingly, I don't have population problems on the worlds. Let's clear out the remaining sprawling sums. I'm actually... I shouldn't break out the champagne yet, but I'm doing okay as far as... cash is concerned. So let's just get rid of the last of the blockers. Well, for some of the worlds at least.
Construction complete.
It doesn't really matter which one does it, but I guess we'll do one for the mining stations and then one for the research. So right now I'm just looking for upgrade opportunities or other indications that there's other things I could be doing. So for instance, Ministry of Production, I believe we have the volatile moats, so I should definitely be putting that on this world. Gribbon's already got its farming. Unless there's another farming building I can put up. So this is the one really where... you know what? Now I don't need to worry about tile blockers ever again. Well, at least until I colonize a new world.
Anomaly found.
A small cargo pod has been left to drift in space above this gas giant. It has been captured by the planet's gravity well and will eventually be pulled into its atmosphere. Well, we'll stop that. Yeah, you know what? This is defending our border, so we'll start with that. Mostly because it's defending from the Vitresis rather than the Zaxoid, but it does double duty. So, and that's, I think I'm going to focus my alloys on that. And unfortunately, recycling standards are still in place. Again, we had a reasonable hope for it, but turns out it was not to be. Alright, more spy stuff.
Complete.
A short list of targets has been drawn up. Those operatives who are no longer tasked with surveillance will provide cover for the others. Good. And an abandoned cargo pod. A discarded cargo pod, this looks great by the way, was left by someone in the upper atmosphere of Gay B2 long ago. It has somehow escaped the notice of other spacefarers, and its decaying orbit means it would have been lost in the gas giant's crushing atmosphere within another few years. When the crew of the ISS Derilla unsealed the pod, they found a stash of alien jewelry made out of precious metals. Well, I can't say I'm upset at getting some extra credits right now. Okay, so I gotta move my construction ships to the next task. I guess Chalks is the next. This would be... Well, actually, I guess I can think about that. So Chalks gets me the crystals. Noilon technically has more energy, but would probably cost me... Yeah, I think both of these wind up netting me less. I don't know, I think I'll go with Chalks just because it's nice to have the strategic resource. So Chalks, Howes, Honumter, Isperia, Quasmathon, which allows me to build my final starbase, Dalberg, Kazril, Sawa, Phonak, Castor, Piscus, Teague, and then the rest is just sort of filling everything in. The reason I'm focusing on that path is so I can get access to the colonizable worlds right away. Well, not right away, but in time. Okay, I neglected my workforce, so looks like let's put 2 more mining districts out there. And let's also take a quick look to see if it makes sense to upgrade any buildings.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Okay, so we're at our limits as far as the bureaucratic center here is concerned. That's a big oversight. This should always be growing. Anthem. I'm gonna wait on that one. Ribbon's clearing out stuff, so nothing to report there. Let's throw another mine down just in case. Looks like they can use more artisans. This world's still confused as to what it wants to be. As is this one, now that I think of it. That's not a question I'm going to answer today. So yeah, it's all basic level jobs, but again, this is going to be a farming world, so maybe I just want it that way. Borobo inspired this whole little journey, so we're good there. Knights, as long as they are not full up on bureaucrats. Yeah, I'm kind of comfortable with where the rest of these are. Oh, Quantos gets an upgrade. System capital complex it is. Let's maybe just take a minute to make sure I can't do any more capital upgrades. We're doing well on minerals, but I don't want to sell them off just because they're not the best return for me right now. Oh, and of course we did our tech. So Galactic Administration. The administrative needs of a star empire are as numerous as they are complex. We will rise to the occasion. So, no real, we don't have any reserve techs. So at this point, it's either I go for another draw and take a cheap one, or there's something that really helps me out. So Command Matrix is tempting because of the 5% fire rate. The question is, do I want to wait 2 years for a 5% bonus to the fire rate? Instead, I could take a year, I get Chemical Bliss, which I'm not actually going to use, but I get another draw from the deck. In this case, I'm going to go for the draw from the deck. But we do get to pick a Civic, although that may cost influence, and so I may have to set it aside. Yeah, it costs 250. What would we go for in theory? Well, Byzantine bureaucracy actually sounds really good now because of the extra unity and stability. That gives me even more reasons to build bureaucratic centers. Maybe not the Corvée system. Diplomatic Corps is kind of interesting. Additional diplomatic weight and additional envoys. So that would mean we could have basically a spy in every single capital. Efficient bureaucracy would give me a percentage bonus to the administrative capacity. So the funny thing is that Byzantine bureaucracy doesn't line up well with my slow growth, but it's more appealing because I basically dedicate workers to overcoming this this gap, and I get unity out of it. And that's a challenge I'd be willing to take on. Environmentalist, well, again, we're going to be generating plenty of consumer goods, so I'm not worried about that. Functional architecture, lower costs for buildings. We're generating enough minerals, and the additional building slot's nice, but I think we're fine there. No way I'm doing mining guilds again. One extra mineral from miners, that's great in some situations. It's just not what I need right now. I need energy. Philosopher King is kind of tempting for the additional ruler cap and less likely to gain negative traits, but again, I feel like there's more that we can do. Police State's kind of interesting with the enforcers producing unity and stability, but I do actually already have some specialized enforcer units. Shadow Council's also kind of interesting just based on its conservation in terms of my influence, so the election influence cost as well as the resource output. There is also that argument for extra code breaking. The thing is that I'm not 100% sure. Like, that's a harder one for me to justify. Like, I can sort of justify it, but it's one where I'm sort of like, maybe, maybe not. And then slaver guilds, I don't know, like, we definitely have slaves. I just don't think it's the best. So, I don't know, my short list would probably be Byzantine bureaucracy, diplomatic corps, or Shadow Council, but it's all a moot point until I get the influence cost. Okay.
Construction complete.
Tithe of the Soulless. We can tolerate the existence of soulless machines if some good can come from us doing so. We should tax their production and use the proceeds for more righteous causes. Oh, man. Okay, so in one sense, I am all for this. So consumer goods upkeep down, unity up, spiritualist attraction up. Pop assembly costs, so I've already banned AI, so that's good. Robot upkeep higher. The thing is, all of my allies, or all of my neighbors are spiritualist as well, so they're unlikely to take advantage of robots. So let's just see what the relative benefits of tech are. So 1075 in the galactic... Sorry, 1075 for the Vitresis. Let's go for the raw value. So 1343, 740, okay. 657, which means that I'm blunting my edge. 757. Wow. Geroids are still ahead of me. Yeah, the question is when it's so close between me and the Zaxoid. Is the unity attraction... Well, sorry, is the unity, the ethic attraction, and the consumer goods upkeep really worth it compared to what I would lose in terms of my overall standing? I mean, it's a difference of 50 points, so I suppose it's not the end of the world. Let's support it. I can change my mind as the... As the time goes by. Oh, Borbo has... Right, we're fine. I think in this case here, I'm just going to save up the influence to be able to get my new Civic, and then we can focus on expansion again. In fact, with that in mind...
Construction complete.
Right now, my... I believe I'm still expanding. Yeah, we're still expansionist.
Special project complete.
Isolationist doesn't quite work for me here. All right. I was just thinking, like, cooperative might be good because of the diplomatic weight, and then the change in border friction, but the fact that operations costs go higher doesn't quite work for me. Isolationist would be really tempting, but again, the hit to diplomatic weight really makes that a hard one for me to swallow. Okay, Udloran secured. The crew of the ISS Ylorum has managed to collect a small group of Udlorans from the icy surface of Chalks 6. These white furry omnivores wrap themselves into tight balls and roll across the planet's snowfields at astonishing speeds. One animal was clocked at over 80 kilometers per hour. This aided in their detection since the passage of their rolling forms kicks up huge plumes of swirling snow. Excellent. I believe we are one away from finishing that off. All right. And if I feel so inclined, we can go take out some ne'er-do-wells. So I'd love to give some experience to my main fleet, but that's actually going to be financially ruinous. So I'm just going to send my psionic avatar to go and clear out the drones. Now, I think it was Araness that finished its construction. So I could try and build some more... Oh, hang on. There's definitely some stuff I can do. So, fleet logistics offices for any places that I've built. Or Naval Logistics Office, my apologies. Obnal, what did I want with you again? Oh, that's right. You were protecting my shipping routes. Still got to figure out the rest of what I'm going to do with them. And then, if I recall correctly, Night Station is over a world. So we always start with the hangar bay. They may just get a bunch of anchorages when all is said and done. They sound really cool, the roly-poly. Some of the descriptions of the species are really neat on this event. I always kind of feel bad about the 3 guys who get taken out trying to collect the predator, but okay. I am going to try and get some more bureaucrats. Asset identified. As the operation nears its conclusion, Spymaster Mickey Basiram has moved to secure our new asset within the Vitresis Hive. Our remaining operatives are poised to facilitate any cover she may need. Commence operation. We have acquired a new asset. Spymaster Mickey Basiram reports from the Vitresis Hive a successful execution so far. We have laid claim to part of the Vitresis Hive entity, an asset which will allow us to interfere with the Hive, obscure our movements against it, and much more. So that doesn't quite sound like the sort of thing I want. So I'm looking for a very specific kind of asset against the Vitresis Hive. Well, it's actually not as bad as I thought. I am a little weirded out as far as the military side of things goes. Oh no, hang on, because that probably is related to the intel level. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, do I want to try and acquire more assets, or do I want to just try and build my overall level? I think we can move up to 100 now, if I'm not mistaken. Nope. 80. Okay, well, with that in mind, let's get a third asset. We can tempt or coerce operatives and other assets who would be of use in our intelligence operations, recruiting them for a price. Let me just double check. So, subterfuge, government, which I don't see either of these being relevant. So, given the fact that I've got some technical stuff to fight with tonight, I'm probably going to have to be a little bit more strict on my finish time, but I'll try and get at least one of the events done, and we'll come up with our plan for the next session. But it sounds like there's some interesting things happening. So the Space Storm Khan arrives. Massive subspace disturbances have erupted in the systems across the galaxy. Early reports indicate that nearly 50% of the systems in the galaxy have been affected by this unprecedented phenomenon, which appears to be a byproduct of thousands of years of heavy hyperspace travel by civilizations both past and present. Scientists are confident that this galactic space storm will dissipate by itself within a period of 5 to 10 years. Until that happens, the storm will play havoc with sublight engines, shield generators, and sensor systems in those star systems affected by it. The galactic community has officially named this storm Khan and has issued a general travel advisory. So I'm kind of curious where the storm is. I'm also curious if we get new resolutions. Because, of course, we're in the middle of a crisis now, right? So we could declare a crisis against... Oh, are we not able to declare a crisis against the... Yeah, okay. So we can, but it's a galactic priority. We want to trade with each other. We don't want to fight Khans. Okay, we buy another bureaucrat, and I should make sure that... Alright, more administrative offices are already on the way. However, we do need another clerk.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Additional research output. Studying something from... this is multidimensional analysis. Studying something from the limited perspective of a single-dimensional reality does not paint the whole picture. Every angle must be considered. So, this is the time here where I want to start considering, so some advanced military tech, definitely. The fact is, though, energy credits have always been a problem. So I'm actually going to put some points into Energy Nexus, just so I have the option of upgrading it. And then again, we can always catch up on the military later. That may be a decision that I wind up regretting, though.
Us new wisdom.
Okay, Chemical Bliss. Deep tissue implants are the latest innovation in the revolutionary overlapping of sensory engineering and entertainment experiences. Where we're going, we won't need skin to feel. What's next? Nanovitality crops is kind of tempting because of the fact I only have 2 farming worlds, and we are down to 18. So there is an argument for going down that path. It's actually also the cheapest. Grand Embassy Complex is tempting because of the additional envoys, for the same reason that the Civic was kind of tempting. Habitability would be nice because that brings my worlds back up to 100%. But in this case, I actually think the nanovitality crops are the right call because that's going to keep me from putting resources towards building new farms. It's going to let me make the most of my existing farms, and I get a draw from the deck quicker. All right, I think this is the last creature I need to claim. And apparently the psionic avatar forgot where it was supposed to go.
Anomaly found.
This barren and lifeless world is showing signs of once having supported a biosphere. Okay, so again, the construction ships are holding in place just because I want to keep my my options open. So Maisa again is a defense against an external threat, so it gets one of each weapon type. It will also get a bunch of defensive platforms, but that's something to consider for later. Terraforming candidate discovered. Our detailed survey of Sarak 3 has revealed that it may once have supported life in the distant past. There are significant deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps and beneath the planet's surface. The existence of valley networks suggests that water may once have flowed freely. Terraforming this planet would theoretically be possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic time frame. I think we might have once gotten a chance to get that tech, but I had other priorities. Again, there's lots of worlds that I would love to start terraforming, but I'm actually not as strong on energy credits as it seems. I'm kind of hoping that when the trade expires that I might have a little more cash on me, but speaking of...
System survey complete.
How long is this trade agreement going to go? Some of our scholars suggest that the faiths of Black Codex and Giroid Empire are the same one truth, distinguished only by differences in language and interpretation. And there's something else to that which I didn't get to read. Okay, the trade agreement. That ends in 6 years. Well, 5 and change. And we'll be getting 213 minerals back, so we're, more than happy. And we're still at 22. Actually, we're at 22, and I believe I'm selling a surplus. I may want to get the consumer goods up a little bit more, but overall, that's not the first thing I would worry about in my empire. Okay, the big one for me right now is just making sure that I'm upgrading whatever bases I can. I'm at 194, so if I wanted to, I could build a second Starfleet like this. So I mean, on paper, that would mean that I've got about 37k in terms of fleets that I can throw at enemies. The really important thing to remember on those are that there is a very definite limit as to how far they can go out, because as soon as they move out of the dock, the cost of actually fielding that thing is ruinous. So again, it's
special project
like
complete.
It's on paper. It's a good idea, and in practice, it's something that would just ruin me. So, all right, the Sneeren secured. Sneerens are large burrowing creatures that live beneath the dunes of the vast equatorial deserts on Jompran 3. When these predators sense movement in the sand above, they immediately raise dozens of tall spikes from their backs in hopes of impaling something edible. Finding a suitable specimen proved difficult at first, until hundreds of tracked remote control drones were dispatched across the desert in random directions. This led to the discovery and procurement of an unusually large specimen that had grown more than 100 spikes on its back. I really thought that was the last of the specimens. Okay, well, let's see what's happening with the espionage. Our deep cover operatives have stepped up their surveillance on potential targets. Always happy to hear that. Still don't have enough influence to change the government. Again, that's 250. And what's going on with my alien specimen procurement? The malleable Gulantha, which is in the Nishpan system. So obviously, I made a mistake. I think for the rest of these, I'm going to hang on. I'm going to hang on and start upgrading some citadels. Oop, nope, don't sell them. Buy. Again, trying to boost up the bureaucrats. Now, this is why I'm still sort of keeping an eye on consumer goods, because right now I've been hammering a lot of bureaucrat jobs. Those are going to have demands on consumer goods. And so if I don't have a good plan in terms of how I'm going to be acquiring replacements, I am going to wind up in a situation where I have a structural deficit again. So, infusing crop strands with small amounts of nanomachines help create the type of produce that is ultra-resilient and the chemical composition of which can be tailored and altered during its entire lifetime. So it's a nice 20% bonus towards farmers. We have no star-based constructions. So basically what we're looking at here, we're already at a 20 unit gain. So that's not too bad on its own. We are feeding the entire empire just through sort of base jobs. And so, given that we're generating almost 330, essentially we're getting another 66 just for making food. And so, again, it means that on these worlds, while I still want there to be a food focus, it means that I need to spend less effort on, when the time comes, I'm going to be building more farms on those worlds as opposed to dedicating another world towards farming. And again, there are some things, I'll put it to you this way. There are worlds that I want to dedicate towards tech. because tech is very strong and it lets you build very strong things. There are worlds that I want to dedicate to alloys, because the more alloys you have, the faster you can build very large fleets. There are worlds that I would dedicate towards energy production, because energy production is going to enable the maintenance of those large fleets. The worlds that I don't necessarily want to be spending a lot of effort on, I don't exactly want to dedicate worlds towards consumer goods. I want to be able to maintain my growth with consumer goods, but I don't want to be generating large surpluses of them. Because there are some things that you can do with a surplus of consumer goods, but generally it's not as exciting as being able to build a big new fleet. Likewise with food. You want to have a stockpile. There are some cases where having lots of food is helpful to you. But in my current situation right now, other than keeping from starvation, I don't have anything that I can spend a bunch of food on. Maybe we'll verify that just so under decisions. There used to be, and it may still be there, and I just don't have the tech for it, but there used to be one where you could spend food to make your population grow. So if we did policies wouldn't matter. Edicts, I don't think there's anything you can spend a bunch of food on. I guess there's like nutritional plentitude, but that's something that costs influence, so that's off the table. So yeah, anyways, anything that would allow me to reduce the number of planets dedicated towards things like farms and consumer goods, and instead putting them towards things like research and alloys, generally those techs are things that I'm interested in. Okay, so my fleet command limit would let me put, achieve a little bit more balance inside of my fleets, but again, I'm not at a point where I want to use them. So let's just do artificial moral codes, because it should be a very short run, and maybe I'll get something I like a little bit more. Lots of unused jobs in some place. Actually, you know what? The crime's starting to go up a little bit, so maybe it's time that I do artificial moral codes anyway. All right, Senate's now in session, and looks like the galaxy's more or less on side with Tithe of the Solus. Now, again, this is not particularly this is not as useful as it would be, because let's take a look at all of the empires. So we've got the Black Codex, that's us, authoritarian spiritualists. The Giroid Empire are authoritarian spiritualists. The Zaxoid Stellar Confederation is egalitarian militaristic spiritualists. The Talakor Citizen Compact are egalitarian xenophilic spiritualists. And the Vitresis Hive is a Gestalt consciousness, and so is not going to be building drones. There's quite literally nobody involved with the council who would, who would even consider building drones. This does, of course, mean that the Iknur-Val archivists are probably going to be supremely annoyed with us, but I guess that's life for them. All right, refugees arrive. Emetherian refugees fleeing the Talakor Citizen Compact arrived on Gribben Prime. What's going on here? Doesn't say there's any wars going on. Normally I get a notification as well. Maybe you should just shut down these migration treaties. Okay, need more work. So in this case here, we've got all that we need from the city districts. This means I get one more shot in terms of what I want to build. Let's go for harder resources. Although, that doesn't help me with worker unemployment. So never mind. I can either relocate them, or I can dedicate them to something worthwhile. Gribben... Oh, that's shameful. We definitely should have had some worker slots available for them. Like a specialist I can get, but the fact we didn't have a special or a worker slot for them just meant I was on complete. I was asleep at the switch. Okay, Gertwan fully checked. Normally that means that we're at the end of the instructions, so I could get it to manually go through. If I tell it to automatically survey, it does what I want. So, and we found an archaeological dig, but that's almost certainly not in my territory. Well, it's actually not that far from my territory. So.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Energy Nexus, a re-engineered and unified grid, further reduces energy losses over a distance. Okay, so I know exactly what planet that's going on. And I guess now I will do experimental subspace navigation because it's cheap. And I mean, I do want some of this other tech here, but at this point here, we're clearly going towards things oriented towards my fleet. So let's make the most of the energy nexus while we can. You're kidding me. I didn't build an energy... Oh, no, here it is. Okay. Actually, let me just double check the cost on that. So that's one exotic gas, which I can afford, but only one. Bureaucratic center, how are we? Okay, we still have, but you know what? Let's keep hammering out the administrative offices, which would also mean that I only need one more clerk to max this out. Forge World. Again, interesting question. Do I want the last 4 to be dedicated to industrial districts, or do I want them to be city districts for other improvements? It would seem to me the industrial districts probably make the most sense here. But I think I'm going to hold off because there's almost certainly going to be some individual workers that show up, and that's probably going to mess with my plans. And so for the same reason, we don't really have any need to be messing around with these. The industrial world is pretty much the way I want it. I can see myself doing 2 more clerk jobs to fill these out, but the important thing to remember is that it's usually, for me at least, it's usually better to fill out these industrial districts rather than to build the others, because of course the upgrades that I want to make to the industrial districts and such, they will have strategic resource costs. Okay, Wentworth. A world that will probably want some basic jobs. Maybe I'll put them in Generator District, but I'll wait until they force me. In this world, I still don't know what I'm doing with it. I mean, energy is nice. This is a Forge world with... yeah. Okay, no real questions on those ones. And we've a surplus of bureaucrats on knights, so our second... I mean, I know where the slaves are going to be going next. Well, sorry, not entirely true. One of 2 places the slaves are going to be going next. But I think for the time being, I'm happy with where we're at. And we get to close off the Dominion branch. So, Privy Council, the best and brightest compete for a chance to whisper advice into the auditory receiver of our illustrious ruler, to better guide the ship of state. Ruler level cap increased by 2. That completes the domination path. So, adopting all of the domination traditions will increase our monthly influence by 1. In addition, we will unlock 1 ascension perk slot. Okay, so as always, our option is Become the Crisis. Let's just start by taking a look to see if there's anything new that we have access to. Well, Voidborn would give us more with these habits. We haven't done anything about building habitats yet. But yeah, it looks like all of these are ones we were considering before. I was debating on like sort of thinking it through and like maybe considering like Become the Crisis or something like that, but I actually think probably going back to One Vision. This is something I've wanted for a while. So 3 more slots. I want to be a little careful about what I follow through on. And I guess the question would be if I go down Supremacy or Diplomacy. Oddly enough, like as much as I would like to do Supremacy just for its combat abilities, one of the things that's really good about Diplomacy is secure shipping. To be able to get that trade protection for my routes, you know, that's going to be a bonus to my energy credits, which I really need right now. But I think that is a question for another time. I've gone a little bit past where I was planning to go. It's getting not too late for me, but I know I've got a bunch of technical stuff to do, and I know it's going to stress me out, so I'm probably going to be getting to bed a little bit later. So my apologies for those of you who are looking for something a little more action-packed. We did have the Great Khan wake up, so I have a feeling there's going to be some battles. But it is actually right now in my interest to try and keep things calm and build up, as opposed to go in early on some combat. I do think the one thing that is nice about this is I have, like if you take a look at the goals that I've had, so when we were talking about trying to get so remember that we started by saying that our consumer goods, like we had this huge structural deficit where we needed to either rely on trade or, you know, I had to go to the galactic market to get that fixed. Well, now we're selling consumer goods because we've got so many of them. And then we were talking about, you know, energy is kind of come and gone as far as a worry. It's kind of coming back now. But then if you think about our administrative cap, right, because we've been able to get a little bit more relaxed in terms of things like consumer goods, we've been able to redirect our population towards these bureaucratic centers. And slowly but surely that admin cap has been going up, and we're sort of starting to close the gap in terms of the overall admin level. That's really important because it's going to mean that all of that research that we were investing in to overcome the penalty, that's now going to have a little bit of a multiplier in the sense that there isn't this percent-based additional cost to a lot of the stuff that I'm researching. So again, if I can afford it, and this is one of the reasons why I want to keep on top of my consumer goods, being able to assign more people to bureaucratic jobs is going to help me achieve that particular goal as well. So overall, again, while I wasn't exactly planning for it to be such a passive run, the position that we found ourselves in has sort of suggested that this is probably the best course, and with any luck, it will mean that we'll be able to put the herd on the Great Khan if they start poking around our territory. That's it for me tonight. Just a quick reminder. Let me just, because I've got my browser up now, just looking for somebody to host. Let's just see if I can find out if there's a. Because it occurred to me in the summer sometimes they don't do one. Excuse me. Okay, looks like we didn't utilize long Twitter yet. Here's a lengthy poster. Okay, actually, I should probably let you guys know what's coming up. So, I'm probably not gonna stream on Wednesday because of Dirty Rectangles coming up on the 9th. I will host them if I do attend. So the talks that they are talking about, Unmaking Games by Brian, is it Dupai? OID MTC Tips and Tricks by Chris Fitzgerald. I have no idea what that is. Making Some Mario, Bowie and Derek Ledoux. Now, Derek is one of the organizers, and if it is what I think it is, that will probably be a really interesting. I mean, they'll all be interesting, but that was actually probably one that I think. I know they've been messing around a bit with sort of generating their own like NES games. And then finally, Twine App Builder by Emilia Laser Walker. So I don't know. I'm assuming that this is something other than just using Twine. I'm assuming this is like an extension to the things available on Twine. But again, it's local game dev community. It's something that I want to try and show some support for. I am a little conscious of the fact that Industries of Titan is pretty much on the verge of being released, so it would be good to get a little bit more time spent with that. But we'll see what we can do, right? One way or the other, whatever happens, I will definitely be back for Friday, hopefully with some more progress in Hollow Knight. We'll see where things go. And if you are only here for Stellaris, that will be happening next Monday, and I certainly look forward to seeing you then. As far as people to host, I don't know if anybody I know is playing Stellaris, but we do have a couple of people I know who are going to be tell you what, let's host Outworld. Actually, sorry, what's Outworld doing right now? Oh, actually, it looks like he might be wrapping up. Okay. Fruit Melody it is then. Fruit Melody is an artist. She does things like emotes and actually also, I mean, does a bunch of commissions, a little bit like Eyes of Sin. But she also does a pretty regular stream in terms of games as well. So there's a division between the two. She's currently playing Dead by Daylight, which I will admit is not really my cup of tea. But she's an absolute sweetheart of a streamer, and I actually really enjoy some of the art streams that she does. So again, if you haven't checked her out, she's actually, as far as a streamer is concerned, just in terms of the added value of the personality, someone I definitely strongly recommend. I will recommend a few other streams. So it looks like Outworld was wrapping up. So if you want to check out the tail end of he's an Australian streamer, tends to do some speedruns or a lot of Mortal Kombat. It is D-Pain. Now, I don't know... He's normally wrapping up, so he's doing Biomutant right now. And then finally, Static Saturn, who we've hosted a couple of times for... basically for Brian on the Rocks. She's currently playing Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, but I'm trying to divide the hosts a little bit. So I hope you all enjoy Fruit Melody, and I will see some of you back for Industries of Titan, Hollow Knight, or Stellaris. Have a good one. Thanks. And thank you, Olaf.